Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ham Radio Live. This is episode 6. We hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. As always, I'm joined by the candle lover, Kopi Kitten. Kopi, how you doing?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, huh? Candles. I got a candle. I was like, Matt, I'm gonna light this candle to get some atmosphere in here. Make a nice fall. It has a fall smell. So we're really close to Halloween, like 2 days out. I love Halloween, and it's candle time.
Yeah, and honestly, the aroma is always appreciated. I don't get to use candles a lot in my household because my mom complains anytime like anything perfumey is lit, so I can't spray anything. I've never worn cologne, so I've been very conscious of the deodorant I wear because that's the only scent I can throw on my body. All in consideration of Mother Dearest. So I envy you in your candle life. I have one sitting in my room right now. It's just cupped, ready to be burnt at some point.
What kind is it? Like what smell?
A buddy sent it to me. It's a eucalyptus mint one, so very sharp smell, nice relaxing scent. I always love a little eucalyptus. That's a really good idea. I just get afraid because I fling my arms around when I talk that I will set something on fire mid-show.
It doesn't have to be right next to you. Like mine's kind of a ways away.
Yeah, where would I put it?
It'll fill up the room.
Yeah, where would I put it, huh? I got a lot of wood in here. I don't know. I'd have to figure that out.
Yeah. You're way too worried about a candle burning down your office.
Imagine that shit, though. That would suck. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of Ham Radio Live. Thank you to everyone who's joining us live right now. We've gotten some new patrons over the past couple of weeks who have joined us live in call for this show, and we want to just say a big thank you to you. We appreciate you for buying into the new vision, to the new wave. If you're interested in that and you want to support the show, you want early access for both the video and the audio versions, head over to patreon.com/MrMattyPlays, link in the description down below on the YouTube videos, or you can just type that in the URL. When you sign up for just $1, boom, you're eligible. You can listen to early access. If you want to join us up on the Discord, you can sign up right now even, and we'll happily talk to you as we run this show right now. It's only a couple more bucks, $3. So consider it. We'd appreciate it. We love talking with all of you. We've been seeing the chat, the rapport build, not only between Kopi and I, but also between us and the audience. So it's been really good. And if you want to support the show in that way, then consider checking that out. Otherwise, we're available on all audio platforms like Apple, Google, Spotify. Weird thing that's been happening lately. I'm calling y'all out. I've been getting a lot of people contacting me, and they've been saying, "Matty, where's the new episode?" And they're tagging all these different audio platforms. And so what I do is I go look because I think to myself, "Oh shit! Like what did I forget?" And it's always been there. It's always been there. So double check. Make sure you're subscribed there. Consider leaving a review while you're there. Sorry for 1,000,001 requests. Just we're trying to build this thing up, and it's through all of you. So we appreciate you. And we have a light but fun news week ahead of us, don't we, Kopi?
Yeah, there's a ton of, there wasn't a lot of news, but there's a ton of fun stuff to talk about, which that's like my favorite.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes like news heavy weeks, you sit there, you're just going through it. And then you get to something like really fun, really interesting, really exciting, which is what we're going to be talking about this week with all kinds of Halo news and Marvel and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So get cozy. We hope you're all having a good weekend or whenever the hell you're listening to us. And before we even begin with any of that, let's talk about what games we are playing. Paul, I'd like to start with you because you have an interesting portfolio here to go through.
Yeah, this week has been interesting. I haven't been gaming as much. I've been dealing with a lot of schoolwork. So gaming, didn't do it that much this week. But when I have been playing, I finished Bayonetta 1, and I really loved it. Now I'm into Bayonetta 2 on the Switch. And I have to say, one thing immediately going into Bayonetta 2 that it's so hard not to notice, it's just the frame difference. Because I was playing on PS5, Bayonetta 1, and we're in 60 frames. I think it was upscaled, like not native 4K, obviously, but I think it was, or like what I don't know what the word is, like artificial 4K, or whatever.
Yeah, upscaled,
like
upscaled or checkerboarding. I don't know. There's terms that I'm still learning, but
yes. So I was playing it on PS5. Great. And then now I'm switching to the Switch, and I have a love-hate relationship with the Switch, but my main reason why I lean towards hate is frame rate and how the Switch's hardware is just so and it sucks too because Bayonetta 2 isn't on other platforms. It's only on, I think, Wii U. It might be on Steam. I don't think it is, but it might be.
Yeah.
But already off the bat, like it's so much more engaging. You can tell they had a much bigger budget with this game. There's way more cutscenes. Even the dialogue is like a lot more interesting. And since the story has been established, the characters have been established, and we're moving into like the second game, I found myself more grabbed by what's going on in the plot. But as for combat and sort of like the thing that most people play Platinum games for, it feels more of the same, but that's not a bad thing. I like it. I do notice that Bayonetta is more responsive, which is fun, because sometimes when I was playing on the PS5, even though it was in a higher frame rate, it was very sluggish. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't doing what I wanted to do.
Right.
So yeah, I've been Bayonetta 2, and then I also am playing a game I can't speak about, but it's for a review.
Oh.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I know what it is.
You do know what it is. We talked about it. You also are playing, well, will be playing that game.
Yes, it's still downloading.
Yeah. And then after that, I was playing some Fire Emblem Three Houses, because that game, I started playing Fire Emblem. I visited my girlfriend in Canada, let's see, at the end of July, and I picked it up on the airplane. And then, during downtime when we'd be like laying in bed or at night before bed, I would just like pick it up for an hour or maybe two and just sort of play that. And now I put it down when I came home like a month later, but I started picking it back up again because I do want to finish it, and I'm at like the halfway point, and it's okay. Fire Emblem Three Houses is okay. It makes me want to go back to other entries of the series, because Matt, you told me that the other entries are more intensive with combat.
I feel like you'd like Awakening a lot, personally. I think just the story, and it blends that, like, you have the ease of what you've come to see with Three Houses, where when people die, you could have the option for it to not be permanent, but the battles themselves are still tough, while the story is still good, but it doesn't go on forever and overuse mechanics. It's also got the traditional Fire Emblem mechanic that I think was very definitive for the series, where you could effectively breed, right? So you would get people to get married, and they would have kids, and these kids would have storylines. I thought it was the best part of the series, and they got rid of it in Three Houses. So you haven't even seen that, now that I think about it. And I think that mechanic alone would really change your opinion on the series. So yeah, if you end up liking the combat a lot where you finish it, you might be interested in the older 3DS entries, and giving them a try. Because I think like Awakening's a perfect hybrid of, this is still difficult, this is still Fire Emblem though, and it's got all the elements that built the series. I really thought it was where they nailed it, personally.
Yeah, I'd love to crack open my 3DS. The last time I did it was for the Animal Crossing New Leaf. But sometimes, like, I'll be playing my Switch, and I'll kind of miss, like, the 3DS. I don't know why. I think it's just really comfortable to use. The Switch, when you're holding it up, it's like, when you're laying in bed, it's kind of weighty a little bit.
Yeah, it's wide.
And I don't find the Joy-Cons all that comfortable. But with the 3DS, it's just so simple. You can slide it into your pocket. So maybe if I end up picking up the 3DS, I'll be playing that game again. And finally, my last game I've been playing. It's kind of funny. I said I wasn't gaming that much, but
no. But here's the thing: like, Cog's done the same thing on Defiant Duke. He's like, yeah, didn't do much gaming this week, and then all of a sudden he just like goes on for like 20 minutes on the three things he did find time to play. I'm like, you had stuff you wanted to talk about at the end of the day, so go for it, man.
Yeah. The last one is Genshin Impact, which is like a mainstay game. I actually stopped playing it kind of recently because I was playing so many other games. But I picked it back up because it's one of those like addictive games you come back to all the time. There's always stuff to do. I feel really guilty because Genshin Impact is a game where you come back and you do your dailies, and you get Primo Gems, which is like the premium currency, and you can put that into rolls to get more characters. So I haven't been collecting my premium currency, so I feel really guilty.
Man, they got you hook, line, and sinker.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I also write guides for Genshin Impact for Tech Raptor, so it's good just to sort of like stay on top of it and know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing. But what are you grinding out, Matt?
Yeah. So if anyone's who's watching right now live or listening to us afterwards has been paying attention, you'll know that I've dropped 2 reviews this week. Paul will know up close and personal how much of Crunch City I was in between Guardians of the Galaxy and Age of Empires 4. So I wanted to expand some of my thoughts on both of those. And then I'll talk about a game I just beat yesterday that I'm pretty excited to talk about. So Guardians of the Galaxy, we had a comment last podcast that I should start telling people how long I had to review games. And I've realized I don't do that consistently. I always try to let people know like how long I've had it for, but most times I'm letting people know like when I've had it for a while. In the case of Age of Empires 4, I had it since the 14th of October. So I had about a good 10 days with that game to pick it up when I wanted. And I had a busy weekend the time I did get it. So I started the following week, and that following week I also got Guardians of the Galaxy. And based off how well the preview for that did, I was like, well, I got to review this too. I'm also really curious how some of those systems I previewed evolved. And so, yeah, I ended up going back and forth playing a game of ping pong between these two games because Guardians of the Galaxy was way longer than I thought it was. In Age of Empires 4, you have to give it time to see how everything develops. So I was playing both of these for a lot in the past week, sinking about 20 hours a piece into each. And then Age of Empires 4, I've carried more hours into that since. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was a really solid game. I knew Eidos Montreal was a really talented developer, so I didn't expect it to be bad, but I was wondering how like the dialogue that they introduced, how that would be streamlined in this iteration. Because when you look at something like Deus Ex is something that they really nailed with role-playing, I thought. It was a good hybrid of like action or stealth, building your character and having it remind me of really Dishonored or how I feel about Dishonored. So I was wondering if this would be almost like Marvel Deus Ex. It's not that. There's not real choice and consequence. There's not multiple endings. There's just permutations of the same sequence we're all going to experience. So for anyone who's interested in listening now and you're thinking like, oh, I want to pick up this game because of the replayability, it's not there. It just lets you be a part of the banter with the team, the Guardians of the Galaxy, which were expertly developed. That was the strongest part of this game. Is I never really cared about Guardians of the Galaxy. It got me to care. I found the romp really enjoyable. While the journey they were on, I didn't really find that interesting, although it was a little bit more personal than I was expecting. I didn't find what they were doing to be that gripping. It was really their ability to develop personally each Guardian and give them time, where when I got to probably like the 15-hour mark of Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, wow, this game's pretty meaty when you look at it. It's just a straight shot. Like, there's no side quests. It's just a main story. You're going through it. There's a couple of things I guess you can do off the beaten path, like getting collectibles. It's a refreshing romp, and I hope it does well because while I think there was a lot of things that they could have built on with Guardians of the Galaxy in a sequel, it's a type of game that we used to get in like the 360 era, the PS3 era, where they didn't have time for the bullshit. They didn't have budget for the bullshit. And games weren't, all the time, by the way, unnecessarily bloated. Like, they had a goal in mind. They went for it. This game's goal was, we're going to tell you a story with the Guardians of the Galaxy. We're not going to fill you up with 20 more hours of side quests. Just boom, go. And they respect your time with that. There's stuff that's constantly being doled out that's interesting. Because it gets stretched out a little bit, they start to reuse environments, which I thought was a little annoying, especially for a Marvel game. I feel like this is top of pop culture. You need to have big budget. We shouldn't be just constantly revisiting rehashed areas. It can start to feel very linear at times where there were moments they were kind of wanting you to go off the beaten path to get a collectible, like I said, or there's one point where you can do these little mini games, but there's so few and far between that you couldn't tell if it was a design decision at times, which I think it mostly was, or if they just didn't have the time/budget to, because now they're working 4-day weeks over at Eidos Montreal. So their games will take a little bit longer to make, but the staff will be healthier in turn, and maybe they'll be more productive because of it. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was good. It was a good time, and I hope they get the chance to do a sequel. For those of you who are Deus Ex fans out there, I would not expect them to be going back to that franchise, especially when they commit to 4-day work weeks. There's money coming from somewhere where they can take more time to make their games, and I'm imagining Marvel's involved with that. Especially if this game does well, it'll be a real sign that you can make single-player Marvel games and kind of attach any brand to it. As long as it's good, it will sell well, because we've seen Spider-Man do well. Hopefully this does well. And then Avengers will be that outlier of like, you can't just slap the brand on things. If your game sucks, it will do poorly. So yeah, been playing Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a pretty solid time. And then Age of Empires 4, I think I have less to say on, even though I've played it more, because it's a series that's had multiple iterations. So things that I feel are new, I know aren't new. Like, for example, how different empires function. So, you know, I'll be playing as the Moscows. I always love this example. And you'll build a hunting cabin and they'll generate gold for you. Whereas if you're playing like in Norway or something, or I'm sorry, in England, they'll have a completely different setup for their army and different units that you can unlock. And to me, I found that to be really compelling because everyone has their own different quirks. And as you learn the armies and you learn the empires more and more, the game builds depth. But it's also part civilization. So you're building up over time, your village life, and from your village life with the food, with the gold, the mining of concrete, you'll ascend more and more into new ages of the empire, like the feudal age, and you'll be able to build different types of buildings and structures and assemble new units. So it's this kind of snowball effect, and it builds up each match. And the only thing that got frustrating with this game was the constant poking of the AI. So if you got wiped out in a battle and you're like, okay, time to rebuild the army, and the enemy will come through again with like a squad of 10, and they'll be like, boop, got you again. And they'll wipe out the rest of your army. And you're like, fuck you. Because then it drags out these matches so much, man. So that's the one sticking point I have with it. Otherwise, the history, the documentaries in them are great. I found them really enjoyable to go through. And before I finish my last one, I can actually see, by the way, Kobe, I can see the super chats on the Streamlabs thing. So
I was waiting for you to stop talking.
Yeah, I know, right? Holy shit. I didn't shut the fuck up for like, what, 10 minutes there? God damn.
Yeah, we got a super chat from Gaston Calazo, and he said, missed last week, so doubling up on my H.A.M rainy day fund contribution. A good day to you, fine sirs, and everyone in the chat. Thank you, Gaston. Much appreciated, and a good day to you.
Yeah, I like that name, Gaston. It reminds me of SMT4. Gaston.
Reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. You know, the big buff guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love that movie.
Shout out to Gaston, Kingdom Hearts rep. Not really, but one day. And then the last game I was playing is Metroid Dread, and then we'll get into some tap-ins after this. So Metroid Dread I finished last night. My Switch says I played for over 10 hours. I beat the game, and according to the game when I completed it, 8 hours and 55 minutes. So I don't know if when the game was paused or something, they just stopped the clock. Because you do open the game, or the map, sorry, and stop it to check out where you are and where you're going. But this game was great. There was an early moment where I was lost, going, where the hell am I? I thought that was pretty annoying because it was like I had to just shoot a random hole in the floor. Once you learn that lesson, though, it was never a problem throughout the whole game. I thought it was a really well-tuned difficulty. You know, each time I go back to the boss, it would be my fault, which is kind of hard to do in 2D games. One of my frustrations with it is I call it touch to damage. So if I tap the boss, like I jumped over their attack, I read them properly, but I touched them, and you lose health. Sometimes, in the case of later game bosses, you'll lose a whole bar for touching them. I can't stand this, and maybe it is just a Metroidvania staple. In fact, I know it is, but I'm saying even in today's design, maybe it has to be, but for me, this was annoying. I would rather lose damage because I was hit, not because I laid a finger on you. But that's a nitpick at the end of the day. This game was surprisingly really good. The way the progression worked, where you were gradually getting item spheres, and that addiction to the exploration where you could now finally go behind that one locked door you were curious about, and you're combing through all these different environments, and these environments are beautiful, although the art style is simplistic. And then the story actually gets really good, which I found myself last night when I finished it reading up on the lore of Metroid as a whole, because I've only played the remake that was on 3DS. So when I beat it, I was like, that was awesome. Wait, I got to learn more about this universe and what else was happening here to fill in some gaps that were there. And I can imagine fans who were longtime fans were probably blown away by what they saw. I thought it was excellent. So this is an easy top 5 for me. A couple of quirks here. We were talking, I think, in Discord the other night, I was talking to Cog about this, how there haven't been a lot of games I have, loved. But this is one that I really, really, really did like when it comes to this year. So that was nice to have. And especially because with Nintendo stuff, I can just take my time and go through it because I have no content pressure for it whatsoever. So it was really nice to have that there. But that has been what I have been playing. We'll slap a timestamp in there, and then we'll get into the tap-ins, shall we?
Yeah, I think it is definitely tap-in time here.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw a timestamp. I kind of messed up the stopwatch a little bit, so I have to actually count in my head because since we started a little later.
No, I can do this because you know what? I have a live counter on the top right corner, so I can actually do it for us this episode. Now that I see that here, so yeah, I got it for us this episode. No worries on that. Let's get some tap-ins going though. You can pick.
Yeah, I'm taking some liberty and bringing Sean Mason in because I just want to hear a story. I'm like in a mood for a Sean Mason story.
Okay.
We were talking about it in chat earlier, so
yeah,
let's
do
him
it.
in here.
Let's do it.
What's up, Sean?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we
wow,
can.
first time. There we go. He was ready. You were planted.
yeah.
You were waiting for us.
Oh, I was definitely ready to go.
All right, Sean. What story do you have for us this week?
All right, so this is pretty wild. I had never thought this would ever happen to me. So we had parent-teacher conferences last week. So obviously, I meet a bunch of parents. I'm expecting some wild things to happen, but this was beyond wild. So I'm sitting there, and immediately this woman comes in, and I'm like, "Oh, hello, I'm so and so's ELA teacher," and she's like, "Oh, I know you're. He talks about you all the time," and I'm like, "Oh, that's good." So I'm like, let's sit down. Let's talk about, his performance in school. He's not the best student. He's not the worst, but he's not the best. So I pull out these work samples. I'm ready to go. And she just goes, I just have a question first. I go, yeah, what's up? She tells me you play video games. I go, yeah, I do. And she goes, oh, I'm really into video games too.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. And she's like, do you think we could play sometime? And I'm like, I'm like, well, first we got to talk about. Yeah, I'm like, first we got to talk about, your son's performance. And she's like, oh, no, I understand that. So I start talking about his performance. And then she goes, hang on, I got to interrupt you. What is your PSN name and your Xbox gamer tag? And I go, okay, we got to talk about your son. I really, I don't really feel comfortable talking about this with you right now. And she keeps insisting on talking about video games. She's like, so what games do you play? Are you into multiplayer games? She's really into Sea of Thieves. She's like, I'm really into Sea of Thieves. We should play Sea of Thieves together. I'm like, listen, we really can't do this. I'm sorry. We really can't do this. And she's like, okay, no, I totally understand. And she's like, I'm like, I got other parents waiting. We got to speed this up a little bit. So she keeps going on and on about these video games. And then she goes, oh, he tells me you're into Kingdom Hearts. I go, yeah, I really like Kingdom Hearts. And she's like, oh my God, I love Kingdom Hearts so much. I really want to talk to someone about it. I'm like, well, again, this is not the time to play. So finally, the allotted time goes up. I'm like, oh, I got another parent coming in. I really didn't have another parent coming in. She was like the last one I had.
Right.
Like, okay. I really enjoyed talking to you. I see you could... my son sees you as a father figure, and I'm like,
oh.
So as she's walking out, she gets into talking about how, the dad's not in the picture, and he really, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, geez. So I'm like, all right, so see ya. So she leaves. I get my things, I go home, and I'm about to go to bed, and all of a sudden I'm like, let me check my phone. So I have a notification on my phone. She's requesting to follow me on Instagram.
Oh, no.
Somehow found it. I'm like, oh, jeez. Then I get an email from her. And she's like, hey, here's my PSN. Here's my gamer tag. Oh, by the way, here's my phone number. I hope we can, get pizza and then come back to my place and hang out and play some games. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh, Christ.
Wow.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, and my fiance is right next to me. And I'm like, yeah,
hey, man.
I got this woman. She's asking me to hang out with her and go out with her. And she just looks at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think I'd ever see this. I'm thinking, I'm going to be dealing with, I'm 12 and 13-year-olds. So I'm thinking the parents are probably, in their 40s. Obviously I might have some young parents. That's okay.
Yeah.
It was like the most bizarre thing. So then the next day I have to go in and tell my principal, I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know, I had this really weird conversation with, so-and-so's mom. Here's this email she sent me. She requested, I had to cover my bases.
Yeah, of course. In your position, you gotta watch your back on this one. Okay.
So it was the most bizarre thing I had ever seen. So my question for you guys is, when have you gone into a situation expecting one thing and the exact opposite happened, where you were just like, I don't even know what just happened?
That is so tough with the story you've just provided us to even.
Yeah, I know. The bar is so high right now, especially with that story. That's.
Yeah, I gotta ask. Have you thought about getting the free pizza at least?
No, I've not. No, I haven't responded. But her son did ask me, hey, Mr. Mason, are you going to respond to my mom's email?
No.
He did ask me that.
No.
Oh, do you think?
I'm like,
this is a strategic push, man. She's got the kid involved.
Get the kid involved, yeah.
she wants to get some good grades for her kid. Like, is this her method?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't mention
That's
that.
what I okay, first. That's what I was thinking, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if she's. I don't know because she was so insistent on talking about the video game, so she didn't even She didn't even seem concerned with her son. Like that was the weird part.
Right.
Right.
It's so funny that this comes up on a side note because my brother's a teacher. My mom works in a school district as well. And we were just talking about parents in general because my brother had come home with a story of just students generally misbehaving, like literally tossing a desk and flipping the teacher's desk even. Like it's just gotten so bad. We actually, Sean, last time you were on, we talked about it. And it's just interesting because we were discussing how like I think parental involvement like it has to happen, especially nowadays. Like they just need to be available and keeping a closer eye on these kids because when they're not and they're sort of like, for example, flicking the babysitter at them, we're starting to see the product of that and the product of the digital age. So it's just interesting to hear this story after that conversation. As for something extremely bizarre that I didn't expect to happen first time going in, Paul, you got anything on your mind right now? Because I think I got one, but
I can guarantee that there's like a better story that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I have something recent that happened, and it's not crazy, but it's kind of funny. So every day when I go to school, I have a designated parking spot. And then when I park, I have to get on a bus, and then I take that bus to my college in my university. This is because parking is horrendous at my university. And you have to buy like a parking tag. You slap it on your windshield. And I have like the bottom tier parking tag. So like I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I gotta get on the bus.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it's horrible. So anyway, I get on the bus and I've been doing this like since the beginning of the semester. So I get on the bus and we're driving. We get to the College of Journalism, which is where I'm going. I'm heading there for my 11:45 a.m. class. And I get up because the bus stops. I pull the little, I don't know if anybody's ridden like a public bus, but oftentimes there's like a thing you pull down. It's like a yellow or it can be another color, but it's how you tell them like, hey, this is my stop. So I pulled it and he stops. He opens the door and a few other kids get up to get off the bus. And I stand up. And then I'm just waiting for other kids to start shuffling out so I can walk and get off the bus. But nobody does, and then he closes the doors, and then he pulls off. And I wasn't ready for this. I was ready to start moving. So the bus, you know how they sort of go down, and then so people can get off. Well, He just lifts back up, closes the door, and starts driving away. So I fall over because I'm not expecting. Because it's Sean.
There he is.
Camera.
There he is.
I had to. Oh my god! I totally. Oh my god! That's crazy.
So I fall over, and so basically the story is I was expecting the bus to let me off because he opened the doors, and he didn't. So I fall backwards, and this is like the sort of bus where like the seats are facing each other, like parallel. So it's not like rows. And there's a girl sitting next to me, so I fall over. And I land right on her lap, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This is so slice of life anime. Keep going.
It really is. I was telling my girlfriend, and she was like, "Man, I'm surprised the roses and then it start flying everywhere." And stuff. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." But I could tell everybody on the bus was looking at me. But the guy didn't let anybody off. He just pulled off from the stop. Fortunately, the next stop was right maybe 2-3 minutes. After that, so I had a little bit of a hike, but it was just really weird. I don't know why he didn't let anyone off, and I fell over, super embarrassed. Definitely one of the weirdest things that happened to me while I've been at my college. So yeah,
what is there?
Yeah, the thing is, it's like my regular bus driver. I see him often, like every time I get on the bus, and he's a nice guy, but I think maybe there was cars behind us or something. Maybe he was behind on schedule. I don't know, but he's just like. At my cost, I got thrown onto the lap of another lady trying to get off the bus.
I think for me, this is the one that comes to mind because it was bizarre to be on the receiving end of it, and I can't imagine how the other gentleman felt. And by the way, I tell this with no ego. So I was at QuakeCon 3 years ago, I want to say, and I just generally have this expectation that no one knows who I am, and I probably need to cut it out, especially at these events, because it can make me look probably pretty stupid. But I remember I was there, and this was pre-Fallout 76, so we were at this it was like a convention center, and I was there with two of my best friends, Tyler and Vinny, and Vinny had split off to the bathroom because I think he got drunk at this party, by the way. And so,
sounds like Vinny.
And so, yeah, it's just me and Ty, and we're standing there talking, and this guy kind of walks up to me. Like I could see, you can tell when someone's looking at you, and you feel their eyes on you. This was one of those things where I could feel this dude kind of like peering at me, decent amount. And, in my head, I always got my guard up. I'm like, what the fuck's this guy looking at? Like, cut it out. And so he finally approaches me, right? And he like, when he approached me, the other thing that was kind of odd is he like didn't like tap me. He just grabbed my shoulder,
an awkward grab,
handled me a little bit. And I was like, I don't mind. I was like, what's up? Is there something urgent here? And so, I asked him, hi, how's it going? He's like, hey, Matt, I'm not going to name him. He's like, I'm so-and-so. He goes, you've probably heard of me. I'm just like, I just kind of like crack a small smile. I'm like, no, I haven't heard of you. I'm just like, I haven't heard of you. He's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I work at this outlet here. He's like, you remember now? I was like, no, I don't know who you are. He goes, but we've worked together on like XYZ. I'm like, what are you? I asked him, I was like, what are you talking about? At this time, someone from Bethesda walks up as well and joins in this conversation. And at this point, this guy's panicking. You can tell. And he kind of slides his hands in his pocket. So it's me, Tyler, standing side by side, this woman and this guy standing there. And you see the guy kind of like hands in his pockets, nodding his head like, fuck, what do I do? And he just kind of goes, so, I'm going to go. And he just like walks off. And then she's just left by herself. And I'm just like, obviously, this is not a thing I did that was bizarre and went how I didn't expect. But, usually when you shake hands at the events, it's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, nice to meet you. But this man pulled up, straight up looking at me like, you know who I am, like beating his chest a little bit, like, you know who I am. I was like, I don't know who you are. And it's a story me and my friends still reflect on to this day because it was hilariously awkward when he walked away. I was like,
he knew your name, right?
Yeah, he knew my name. He knew who I was. And that's the thing. Like, I don't have that type of thing happen ever where someone like just knows me in general. So when someone walks up and says, I know you, and you definitely know me, I was like, I don't know you. So I was feeling like Snoop Dogg with a little who there. But Sean, that was an excellent story. Nothing sniffs yours.
His ego was broken. Like he just like felt devastated after that.
I hope not, because it's just me, but it's always possible because he kind of just panicked and walked out. So maybe, hopefully not though. But Sean, it's been great talking with you. Thank you for sharing your tale, your pizza tale with us. And we hope that this woman leaves you alone and that you and your fiance can continue on happily ever after.
I'm expecting an update next week too. I need to hear more about the story.
I'm gonna keep you guys updated, especially if she emails me again. I'm definitely gonna post that. But Maddie, I don't think anything tops your shitting story from Duke.
Yeah, that's the thing. I blew that last on Defining Duke. That was gonna be my brick wall shit story. That would be the more bizarre thing I never anticipated. You can't see that coming. But for those who want that story, Defining Duke, go ahead, check that out. But yeah, that was a tough one to top for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys again. Have a great rest of the show. Can't wait to listen.
Of course. Thank you, Sean. Talk soon. All right. Whew. I feel bad for the next call.
Sean Mason. Yeah. All right. You want to bring him in? Do you want me to...
You can. I'm just doing the timestamp real quick.
All right. We're gonna bring, I think, Ray. I'm gonna say I think Spooky Cock is Ray. I think. Yeah.
Ray is my fat cock if he is there, which it's possible he's not. Oh wait, he unmuted. He unmuted, so I think we got him here.
Ray, are you there? Like, I feel like we're at a Ouija board right now. Like,
I'm like, you're moving it around, trying to get
it. With us, say something.
That's so true.
Oh man.
All right, we'll have to. I don't know why Ray's isn't working, but it might be a mobile thing. By the way, Ray, if you can hear us, we should have made that clear for those who call in. Then again, Sean was on mobile, so I don't know what's happening. Right. But we found out that mobile's been tough. So We can try someone else just to
We'll
keep
try
things
someone
moving.
else. Sorry, Ray. Maybe next week or maybe later on. We're gonna bring in Forged Horizons.
Okay. Forge Horizons,
Hello.
welcome.
Oh, let me pause the stream real quick.
There we go.
Appreciate
All right.
What tech advice do you got for us this week?
Oh, I don't
Let's
got
go.
tech advice. I just bring a hot take.
All right.
Oh, all right. Hot takes are
Spicy.
even better.
Let's do it.
I have come to understand that I don't really like Fallout. I don't like its universe.
Oh no.
Wow.
Okay. Why?
Okay.
Like this happened after playing Wasteland 3.
Mm.
I was like, the whole aesthetic of Fallout, it's just like, it's all brown, except for 76, and 76 has my favorite world of any Fallout game, so... Well, minus maybe New Vegas, because New Vegas, the desert makes sense.
Yeah.
But I like my post-apocalyptic games to have more than just, desert.
Mm.
Okay.
And that's tough,
Like
right?
Last of Us.
Because when you're talking post-apocalyptic, especially in the case of Fallout, where everything's been wiped out by a nuke, like, what did you think of Fallout 4? I thought that was
I was
more.
gonna say Fallout 4 seemed to
colorful.
have a little more color, but maybe not enough.
It's not enough. Like, I had to download a whole bunch of mods to get it even
Interesting.
somewhat where I wanted it to be. And even then, all of those mods destroy frame rate. So
Yeah.
even on my rig, you would be dropping frames.
Mm.
I can sort of understand where you're coming from because sometimes I'll be playing a game and even just going to it, like my favorite levels, like very broadly speaking, like a level, it could be influenced by purely how it looks rather than how it plays. So I can sort of understand where you're coming from with that. I remember like the first time I played Fallout 3, I was a lot younger. I thought it just was ugly, and I hated how flat and just vast the world was with pretty much nothing. But then I was like, okay, but it's populated with things that might not be as colorful, but they're intriguing based upon Bethesda's world building. So if you're not a big fan of that, I can sort of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw Azo write it in chat, and it mimics my thoughts exactly, which is I thought Fallout got too colorful. So it's really interesting to hear someone who comes in and says it's not colorful enough, whereas I feel like 4 and especially 76, but 76 feels more post-apocalyptic than 4 to me, as it
Absolutely.
should. 76 is way earlier in the timeline, but like I thought Fallout 4 was really bright. It had like a lot of saturation in most areas, especially when you get into the Commonwealth. So that's kind of surprising because like, what did you think of the? Wow, I'm blanking on the name. Bottom right corner of the map though, where it's where the bomb landed. And
Glowing
Sea. Yeah.
The glowing sea is
Yeah.
the area that makes the most sense to me in any Fallout game for it to be like that.
Mm.
And I did like having that there, but just looking around the entire map, I'm like, this isn't what 200 years post-apocalypse would look like to me.
Mhm.
Because,
Yeah, it's
like,
definitely not realistic.
yeah, you got, like, wooden houses still standing, but you don't even have, like, a vine. So...
Yeah,
I
don't understand
buy
where you're
that.
coming from. Yeah, you can't buy in as much, and it sounds like a nitpick, but I understand that the little details do matter, especially with what I was just complaining about with Metroid. So I totally get what you're saying. What in Wasteland I'd like to know, especially because for me it's like isometric. Like I can only get so immersed in isometric as much as I love games there, like Pathfinder or again Wasteland, Divinity: Original Sin 2, one of my favorite RPGs of last gen. I can only get so involved because you're so pulled out from the action and the world space itself. What did you notice in Wasteland that made it where you were connecting with this world more? Was it like the structures, the interiors? Was it to me it was the characters, but I want to know what clicked with you more compared to Fallout there.
The characters and the world building as a whole, because all of you felt the struggle more in Wasteland than you did in Fallout. Like in Fallout, I never really felt that any of the characters were like struggling apart from like Freeside or whatever. And like New Vegas is the only one that had characters that weren't like, yeah, we're doing pretty great.
Right.
In Wasteland, you saw that everything was pretty awful. Like it was winter, so they didn't have food. It was
I get what you're
not
saying.
a good situation.
Yeah, I love Wasteland 3. So you're not going to get... If you came in here like Wasteland 2, and you may have gotten an argument from me. Wasteland 3, I can respect that. Or Redfield the Ram does not look to respect you here. Forge, I don't know if you have a response to the super chat. It says, you don't like Fallout. Get that synth out of here. All in fun. Enjoy the games you like. Appreciate the super chat. But how do you take to being called a synth, sir?
Well, if you kill me, there's not going to be any synth components, to my knowledge.
What about, speaking of synths, did you find the Institute to be colorful? Because I definitely one of the most colorful areas in all of Fallout. And it sounds weird because it's all white, but I thought like so much saturation and all the text
tree in
there.
the middle, if I remember. Yeah, there's
I did like the Institute. I didn't really like any of the storylines in Bethesda games as a whole, but that's a whole other topic. Yeah, just give me a Fallout style game made by Obsidian in the Wasteland universe. That would be like peak for me.
It's interesting because like Wasteland pretty much is that. So do you want maybe a Fallout game by inXile, which would likely answer what you're looking for? Because I feel like they're more in tune with like the death, destruction, and grimness of post-apocalyptic worlds.
Well, inXile and Obsidian are the two companies formed from the people who made the original Wasteland and Fallout games.
Right.
So I feel like both of them would be able to do it. So
sure.
I just really like the combat that inXile did for Wasteland 3 because I love my XCOM game, so I'm fine with them sticking to that. Whereas I don't like isometric, like real-time games like Divinity or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I like being able to look around more when I'm in like anything real-time. So
yeah, I'm thinking, and this is just a hunch, by the way. I feel like if they do another Fallout game, it'll probably be isometric. I know that sounds crazy, and I would rather them do like the 3D open world stuff, quite honestly. But I feel like they do that because then 76 would be the only offering of 3D open world, and you could still make another Fallout game that wouldn't really step directly on the toes of 76. That's my theory. So I feel like we could actually see that, especially when you see like inXile's under the hood of Xbox. You got Obsidian, like they're very experienced with that stuff. We've never seen Bethesda Game Studios do something like that recently, at least, where I think that would be a possibility. So, hey, fingers crossed. But it's interesting to get the thoughts of someone who's just come in and been like, I don't really like Fallout.
Yeah, it's definitely the hot takes I've heard on the show so far.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Forge, and we'll talk with you soon. And take good care of yourself.
Yep, you too.
All right, peace out.
Goodbye.
All right, excellent. Well,
all right, so ban Forged from
yeah, I was gonna say we're down a patron. If anyone wants to sign up, we'd appreciate that. We need to fix this income somehow. All right, let's get into the news. This week, like I said, it's a light week, so we'll probably be bouncing right back into tap-ins immediately. So if you're listening live now, just know we'll be hopping into that. And we'll be doing a ton of them because I don't know if the news will last us too long, but that's okay. We've already done a bunch of almost 3-hour shows in a row, so maybe people are looking for a lighter week. Okay.
We've got Patron questions too, so don't.
Yeah.
We still got some stuff to cover.
Yeah, we got stuff. We got the stuff like 343 does. So they just released a new Halo campaign overview. We've seen this semi-open world space. We finally got a good glimpse at the graphical enhancements, a new skill system. I've talked about this in a video. I've talked about this on Defining Duke. I want to dish it to you, Paul, first, and then I'll give some of my thoughts. How are you feeling about Halo's campaign now versus what we saw back in last August, where there was a lot of criticism, less to the gameplay and the style of open world, or rather the open world nature of it, but more so its visuals. How are you feeling now with what you've seen?
So when I first saw Halo way back when it was first revealed, I really didn't have a problem with the visuals, and so until people started getting nitpicky, and then I sort of realized like, wow, okay, this kind of really does look a little muddy, a little watered down. But obviously, after playing the preview and a year later, it's improved. They took feedback, and I would say, I would argue that there's probably not really much you could say bad about the visuals. I think they look great, but beyond that, I didn't really recognize that this would be more open world. I kind of had the idea about it, but now that we're actually seeing what that means and what that entails, at first I didn't watch the preview. I heard about it from my friends, and then I went and watched it. So I was very concerned because we both just came off of Far Cry 5, and it was that open world formula is tired. very tired. But I sort of opened up more to the idea of having like objectives around an open world to go do, because I've realized, one, this is Halo, so it's not Far Cry. It's gonna be totally different. And two, 343 is doing something that a lot of companies are afraid to do, like Call of Duty, or at least first-person shooter story modes, right? Is to innovate something that already works, because the Halo mission format works.
Really
I was
good point. Yeah.
I was expecting it to be, mission format, and I was kind of concerned because I was like, this is a $70 story experience essentially, because you're not paying for the multiplayer, that's free, right? So you're paying $70 for a story, and if this was going to be an episodic chapter by chapter story, like in Halo 3, 1, 2, 4, I'm pretty sure 5. I didn't play 5, but I'm almost confident.
Lucky you.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why, right?
Yeah.
But so I'm weary, but I'm also happy, and I'm sort of like proud of 343 because they're taking a step forward. They're saying, look, we're not afraid to try and innovate. We want to deliver something different, but we want to deliver something that people like. And I think this is sort of what needs to happen with these games that have been around for so long, is they need to innovate. They need to try new things. And even if it's not something that's necessarily new, like open world tasks around the world isn't new, but it's new to Halo. Yeah. And I find it to be exciting. And even though I'm weary about, like, is this just going to be a monotonous task you accomplish? How are the progression systems going to work? We sort of see a little bit of that in the preview. But overall, I'm excited, and I'm glad that 343 is taking a step and trying to innovate something that has arguably been sort of like watered down over the years, like chapter by chapter stories. Not that that's bad, because I love going into Halo 3, and that's my favorite Halo, and experiencing every different mission, like, Hornet's Nest, the Savo Highway, the one after that where you fight the giant scarab. Like, I feel like having chapters in different environments really helps bring, like, when you look back at a game, you can remember like the music, what you're doing in that mission. But I also think this is exciting, and I'm hoping that they do it well. I have more to say, but I'm going to let you talk a little bit because I don't want to talk for too much.
You're not like me, who doesn't shut up.
Yeah.
Good on you. You're a better podcaster than me already. So, yeah, with Halo, I think you just made one of the best points I've heard about it so far, which is absolutely that they are trying something new. That really resonated with me, because I'm like, you know what, they are. Where it washes away to me a little bit of those concerns, because it's like I can understand the natural progression, especially when you look at Halo Combat Evolved. I actually just played that this past week into completion, and you look at some of the levels like Assault on the Control Room, 2 Betrayals. You look at, I'm forgetting the name of the second level right now, but you look at those and how there is a sense of openness there. Granted, they aren't a mission by mission structure, but especially for its time, it was so surprisingly open. So they're carrying that DNA now and actually building something within that openness. And while it may be a very popular thing to do nowadays, you look at what Halo did and how it, I don't want to say it started it, but it was doing it in its original form. So I do think that them approaching it this way is good. However, my concern is that with those missions, you got a lot of visual variety. I loved like the snow levels in Halo 1. Oh my gosh, man. Beautiful. Like the lush jungles in Halo 2. There was so much diversity there, and they've said
different atmospheres too.
Exactly, yes. And you think of 343 Guilty Spark in Combat Evolved, and it's like raining, it's foggy out, places covered in blood on the inside. It's very gritty. And it's because of the art style, but it's also because of the different locations you go to that atmosphere is created. And I think Halo, its atmosphere is consistently slept on. And so I'm worried that we've heard now that they call it the Northwestern inspired region is their, quote, main biome. And they said there'll be sub-biomes you can go to, but that this will be the main place you are. And while I'm very excited for pretty much Halo Combat Evolved's second mission completely expanded upon into a semi-open world, I'm worried that what will be left in its path is less of these missions that are more scripted, because I think, you know what, Halo's sandboxy enough where we'll have our own stories to tell, and I can trust that system there. But just that the new locations you go to build the ring. It builds the world that you're on, and if you're in just one location, I worry if that'll feel limited, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly that sets in or how it never does. That's really up to how much they spice it up. Like their sub biomes could just be side quests, or they could be story missions. I don't know. But it's something that is my lingering concern with this game right now. And I don't mean to keep finding a new concern for those who are looking for me, but that's where I sit right now. You said you had more to say, so I'm going to take a page out of your book. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to pass it to you.
Okay, so it's interesting you bring that up because it was a worry of mine. I mean, it still is. It still is. Like I brought it up earlier, how every different. I'm thinking about 3 right now because 3 is my favorite Halo. It's my first Halo. It's the one I have the most experience in, and like you said, every mission has a different atmosphere. And then like think about Reach too. Like Halo 3, for example, the very first mission, I think it's called Sierra 117. You're in a jungle and you're crawling around with a bunch of military men, UNSC members, and it's kind of creepy in a way because like you notice like the Covenant slowly flying in and then you eventually ambush them. And I feel like every single Halo level has that atmosphere, a different one that's more and more exciting. Like in Halo 2, there's a mission where you're playing as the Arbiter. And you go in with like all the other what are they called? Elites. You go in with all the other elites, and I don't remember exactly what's happening in the story. Either you're going to get like the Arbiter armor, or you're going to I can't remember.
You're trying to kill the heretic, I believe.
Okay, so yeah. And it's just every mission brings like a different atmosphere, a different environment, which I'm sort of retreading trail you brought up, but yeah, it's a worry of mine, and I do personally think that like. I feel like it is going to get left behind. It's not even a worry. Like I'm expecting it to be.
Okay.
Because for everything they've shown, it's pretty much been that Northwestern inspired. That what is it? They said the Zeta ring. Right?
Yeah, Zeta Halo
Zeta
ring. Yep.
Zeta Halo ring, and it's just like it's kind of sucky, but I'm still giving them a chance because I do want to see. I do want to see what they're doing, and I hope that the sub biomes that they do present are different enough to warrant different music and sort of like that creepy atmosphere. Because I remember in Halo 3 when you go to, I think the mission's called Cortana. I think it might not be, but you go to the Floods like home base thing, and you meet Gravemind there, and you met him in 2, but it's super super creepy. And there's a track that plays, and it's just very ominous.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be missing from Infinite. And we'll get something else in the process. But another thing I'm excited for is I feel like they're going to be developing more personality in some of the characters. And you sort of get that in 1, 2, 3. Reach has a lot of personality with Halo characters because you're part of that squad, and they have to develop them because it's a prequel. So like you understand that their fates aren't solid. Like something bad might happen to them. So you get a lot of personality development. But I'm noticing even in these trailers, like you have a new AI, which I think she's like super cute in the sense of like she doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And she's very naive, and Chief is sort of like there's a scene where an enemy is coming down an elevator, which is a boss, by the way.
Yeah, he has like a little mini boss. Yeah.
I kind of like that. I think that's cool. And she's like, what if he's friendly? And she's like, he's not.
Yeah, he just starts lighting him up right away.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just think that's so cool that they're bringing like more personality to some of these characters. And then I don't know the character's name, but he's like the guy that saves Chief from like being in space. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I actually don't know his name.
And he seems to have some more like personality to him too. So I think the story is going to be elevated here, and I think we're in for something good. And my other main concern is just with like the open world structure, but I want to give them the chance because open world games can get tiring really fast if your tasks are just like go blow up a silo. Because I noticed that they had like go blow up this like energy tank or something, and I think we see it like twice.
Yeah.
Or go save these Marines. So it's a little concerning.
Yeah,
but
I agree because like the silo looked as if that's what you want to see from Halo open world. He grapple shots in, he's lighting them up, switching weapons, using skills. We'll talk about that in a sec. And that to me looked like the sandbox gameplay that you would want in Halo open world, and in turn that would be fun. But then when he saves the Marines, he just goes up a hill and lights them up, and that's it. I noticed that when I was breaking down some of the footage, you could see there was a FOB, and it was like, if you clear out this FOB, it'll mark UNSC activity in the nearby location on your map. And I thought to myself, okay, I guess these are this game's like synchronization points. So they're going to have a little bit of that. I agree with the audience, which is, yeah, this is looking a little more Far Cry in nature than I would like, but I trust in that sandbox gameplay that we have now experienced in the multiplayer that this will still be fun because it's really about how you tackle those objectives, or rather how you're able to. So I'm thinking that that won't be a problem, but do you think, based on what we saw of the world map when they brought it up, do you think it's big enough to hold that much content? Because I remember looking at the collectibles on the bottom left, and there was like 5 of this, 3 of this. I think there was 8 of one of them. I was thinking, I remember saying in my video, like, oh yeah, this is probably not the only open world space. Like, there's just not enough here for a full game. It doesn't look big enough for a full game. It doesn't seem like there's enough collectibles for a full game. It just didn't make sense. And maybe that's where the sub-biomes come in, and they're more like those structured missions where it guides you down a path, and then you'll always return to this area at the end of the day. But did you think it looked like there was enough? Just, of course, this is from a bird's eye view, but did you think that there would be enough from what you saw?
Yeah. I'm not expecting like a massive map, but the fact that they're sort of like pushing this is an open world Halo. It's like the infinite Halo. You got all these different things to do. I do hope it's a little bigger, but I'm hoping, I don't want to say I'm certain, but I'm hoping that that's sort of what we saw is expanded like around, or that there's different, like the sub biomes, like you load into them, and you know what I mean? Like there's more to it, but I don't know. They seem pretty adamant on this Zeta Halo ring being like the main area you go to. So it's a little concerning.
Yeah.
But I did notice that too, that it seemed a little smaller than expected. But
Chad,
also
brought something up real quick that I want to point out. Pixelbit G mentioned that there are 40 Spartan cores you can collect, and when you looked at the upgrade tree and what was available for the location you were in, there was not definitely 40 Spartan cores. So the assumption should be this will be one area that we visit. And if it's like, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to make it clear for the audience because I know how the comments could be, especially when we're live. I want to make it clear that if this is like Gears 5, I don't think you've played Gears 5, have you?
Nope. I haven't played Gears of War at all.
Okay. So Gears 5 is this, you go through multiple open world sections pretty much at a certain point in the game. And at times it guides you down a pathway, at times it doesn't. And I think that is probably the perfect structure for Halo Infinite. So I'm really hoping they do that, and I'm confident they will, because when you look at what's happening with the development of this game, where we know the Coalition is actively helping, and you can see like through the structure of the game, they're taking pages out of that playbook. I'm feeling solid about it to some extent on if they take that path, and there are truly that many areas like we had seen in Gears 5, which wasn't a ton. It was just like 3 really different locations that you could explore, and then a bunch of more structured missions. If we take that route, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot for sure.
I also think like with the missions that we're going to be experiencing, I'm sort of hoping that they, you know, like in a Rockstar game where you walk up to a mission and then like a cutscene happens, and then you're in the open world, but it also feels like you're in that mission structure. It's sort of set up. Like there's a word that you use that you use a lot. I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's what is it, like set pieces,
right?
Like, do you think, I'm hoping that like you walk up to a mission, you start it, and then suddenly the world is developed around that mission. So like you got your set pieces and you have what's going on in the story. I'm kind of hoping it's more like that, unless like you walk up to an objective and then it's like, oh, go do this. You know what I mean? Like I almost hope that when you go to a main story mission, it is linear and it takes you down a linear path. So we sort of get the best of both worlds with that open world mixed with like the storytelling that we're used to from Halo.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling more optimistic about it than I was previously, which is good. And what's interesting is they revealed this before the 20th anniversary. To me, that's the biggest eyebrow raiser when you really break it down, because everyone was expecting like, okay, that's Halo Combat Evolves 20-year anniversary, November 15th. Certainly that's when they're going to show the campaign. They show it ahead of that, which I guess more on an Xbox front rather than Halo speaks to there's other things that they plan to show that day since they've planned this anniversary stream. They did say no new game announcements, but that's not going to stop them from showing stuff that's already announced, like more of it. So what that'll be will be interesting. But I thought that was a little plot twist that with the Halo conversation we kind of got swept away from.
Yeah, that is weird, right? Because this is such a huge thing. If they just waited for that and showed it then, they'd be solid. So you have to wonder, like, are they saving a big announcement? Like, would they announce expansion? I don't know, like something.
A roadmap? Oh God, I hope not, because
Yeah.
they already delayed enough features.
Yeah.
Announcing a roadmap, please
Yeah.
don't. Please don't.
Did they ever say when Forge is supposed to be arriving?
Forge will be, yes, they said Forge will be the summer of next year, and then co-op will be 3 months from launch, roughly. So they didn't say that specifically, but they said like, oh, this is going to be in season 2, and they announced when those seasons will release. So yeah, we have a ways to go. So if they started going like, well, we got an expansion coming in the fall, which I imagine they are planning, by the way. But if they announce that now, I don't need to know about it right now. I don't. So
Yeah.
please don't talk about it yet.
I forgot that co-op wasn't going to be at launch. That's kind of.
Oh yeah, after seeing this campaign, I was talking to Carrick about it. I was like, damn, that really sucks.
It'd
like
be so fun to walk around and like do it with a friend.
Yeah.
Like in Far Cry.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the progression is together, like Far Cry wasn't.
I would hope for that to be, but I don't know. I'm always thinking like, is it really that hard to get progression to match up? I wonder.
Yeah,
like,
something we'll never know. But
yeah, right. Because it's gradual as you progress through these games, these open world games especially. I have to wonder like, is it difficult? Is that why it doesn't happen often? Because I can't really think off the top of my head a co-op open world game that has your progression shared. You might be able to because you played a lot of co-op games.
Yeah, they're usually
but
down a similar path.
Yeah, one where it's like you can play single player. I guess Fallout 76, but that's more of like an MMO type.
That's that always online live service kind of
Yeah,
game.
yeah. So I don't know. That kind of sucks, but and Forge not being there sucks as well. But I'm just hoping that the content we're getting up front is enough to really like satisfy people. I know the multiplayer will be. I am completely sold on Halo's multiplayer. Like I don't need to play it anymore. I don't need to see any more of it. Like I'm good. The only concern I do have is with the progression. But you know, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what it's going to be like. Challenges for progression just sounds a little weird, but it's not unheard of.
We'll see on that one.
Yeah, it's just like, why do we have an absence of lobby-based XP? Like, why is that not there?
The way they're talking about it, when I was covering it in Defining Duke, seems like they're going to be adding it eventually. Just they're starting it off with challenges progression only, which I don't know. That's the one thing that will sneak up on us is monetization. We already know that like if you buy the battle pass, you'll have access to another challenge. So there's that.
Oh, that's a good. I didn't think about that. That's actually a really scary point. People in the chat are bringing up Borderlands 3 as a game where your progression, or Borderlands in general, and that's a really good one.
Yeah, I forgot Borderlands 3 existed. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's also a game though where it's almost expected of you to play co-op versus Halo, where it's like very much more optional and you don't really benefit or not benefit from it.
Yeah,
but yeah, that is a good thing to bring up.
What did you think? Last talking point I have in mind. What did you think of the skills? How you could upgrade your equipment, like your thrusters. You could upgrade the grapple shot. You could upgrade your shields. Even. Did you think this was a fit? Because it was the one thing I was in the middle on. I was like, yeah, you know, this is Halo. I don't like. I felt like they went. When I looked at it, I was like, I'm about this, but you guys have gone a little too light for my taste. You know, you only saw like 5 pieces of equipment.
You're thinking it's like, oh yeah, we have RPG mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like if you're gonna do it, let's go all out a little bit more. And I'm not asking for a full blown RPG, but I just thought this looked a little thin. Like it's just kind of there. Is it bad?
I think it's hard. I think it's hard because like it's Halo. You know, how much progression can you throw in there? But when you have an open world formula for a story, you need progression.
You do. Like, you need something fun to go find.
Yeah, like you need incentive to go out and explore and do things. So yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was kind of cool, but it also did seem very light. And I'm just stuck here thinking like, if it's light, it's probably because they don't really know or they don't have many ideas as to what they can upgrade without making it like drastically different from your multiplayer experience. But it's like, then why are we opting for open world in the first place? And I'm sounding more and more negative as we speak, but that's just because I want to be critical.
There's questions.
So, like,
I don't think you're being negative.
Yeah, I'm still excited. I incentivize or I support them going out and creating this open world game. But it's like, what is we're just gonna have to see it. You know, it'll
Yeah.
be something we see and we witness. But I am worried. Like, how is the progression gonna work? Is it gonna feel good? Is it gonna feel natural? Is it gonna feel like it makes a difference or not? Because from what I understand about Halo, you get your good guns and you're good. You know, you get
Yeah.
your sniper rifle, you get your shotgun or whatever weapon of your choosing, and that's pretty much the gist of any mission. Like, once you get your weapons, you keep your ammo, and that's it. So I'm curious to see how they evolve that in Halo Infinite.
Yeah, time will tell, and hopefully they got some stuff close to the vest that they'll surprise us with, and when our questions are answered, we'll be good to go. For now, that's all we got for Halo. We still got to talk Xbox in general because we got to talk about Skyrim Anniversary Edition coming from Bethesda Game Studios. So they announced some new details that we're going to go over here. And for those of you watching this live, we'll have a video out tomorrow on this, so fret not. This is not the only way you're going to hear me screech about Skyrim. So they called it 4 pieces of new content in this Anniversary Edition update. But it's really 3. I'll explain why. So you've got Skyrim Special Edition. That will be getting the free update. Sorry, I said Anniversary Edition earlier. You will be getting a free update for Skyrim Special Edition. With that is Saints and Seducers, which they're calling the largest piece of Creation Club content ever made, which will include a new storyline, new weapons and armor, and this thing called Rare Curios. Just know that that's the additional 4th piece of Creation Club content that they're apparently throwing in there. It's really a 2-for-1 in this instance. In Rare Curios, Khajiit merchants will bring you new items from all over Tamriel, so you'll be able to make new potions, arrows, new poisons, and have even some rare alien stones. They're also including a survival mode, which is pretty neat. So you'll use the fire to stay warm. You'll keep an eye on your hunger and exhaustion, which are attached to your stamina and magicka bars. And then you can eat, drink, cook, and sleep to manage your character. There's also fishing, which has been added. There's 20 unique fishes that you can catch. Whether you cook, display, or put them in your aquarium is up to you. And there are quests that are apparently based around fishing. So all of those are entirely free. If you are interested in that, you can download a free update for Special Edition on your Xbox, on your PlayStation, PC, and you will have access to this content. Then there is the rest of everything that's on Creation Club, which if you purchase, which we don't know the price yet, the Anniversary Edition upgrade, you will access now. On top of that, they're adding some new creations. One's called Ghosts of Tribunal, which adds about a dozen new weapons and armor that are featured in Morrowind, and it's also a whole new storyline. There's also The Cause, which is where the Mythic Dawn is trying to form a new Oblivion Gate, so you have to go out and stop them, and there are new enemies, locations, weapons to find, and you can conjure a Daedric horse at the end of all of this. So there's a lot of stuff that they're adding, some of it already released, now being packaged in, some of it new. And I found myself walking away going, I'm pretty excited. Again, the thing that's really hanging over our heads here is there's no price tag. Bethesda's been cagey about it, and even Pete Hines had responded to someone on Twitter saying that Game Pass users will get it at a special discounted price, but no one knows what the price is. Game Pass users will get it discounted. There will be likely a separate price to pay for Anniversary Edition on its own, and there will be a paid upgrade path if you are a Special Edition owner looking to get into Anniversary Edition, which I'm just like, okay, well, why are you being so cagey? We are like, at this time of recording, like we're just over 10 days away from this game coming out. Why are you guys hiding this? I don't know.
It's also so confusing.
It really is, I know.
Yeah.
But what do you think of some of the new content coming? And of course, price will inevitably come up in this, so we'll get to that and really dive in.
I think it's awesome that we're actually getting more Skyrim. You know what I mean? It's a little, I guess that makes sense that all this is Creation Club content because you have so much Creation Club stuff there that I guess they consider to be canon, right? So anything that goes in there, it has to be considered canon. I always was kind of like upset by the fact that I didn't want to go out and experience all this new canon content to Skyrim because they priced it, microtransaction. Like I just I'm a big fan of like, give me a $20, $25, $30 expansion pass. Give me all the stuff there and I'm good.
Yeah.
So finally we're sort of in a way returning to that formula where it's like, here's a bunch of content, here's a price tag. The survival mode, I think, is so fitting for Skyrim because you have all these different harsh climates. Can you fast travel? It might be a dumb question, but
no, I think
know
it's they didn't mention that, but I think it's going to be like Fallout 4's fast or survival mode, and if so, you cannot fast travel.
Yeah, so I think that's super cool because like one thing, I never used a horse in Skyrim, but now there's like a reason to use a horse. It's something small, but I like the idea of a survival mode for Skyrim. I think it's a cool addition along with everything else. The big thing, obviously, is like your Sainted Seducers get new quest lines and then Rare Curios, which, like you said, is a 2-for-1. More items, more content. And then fishing is cool too. It's kind of funny to me because fishing is like a staple for JRPG games. You know, like
it really is.
And now it's like coming to Skyrim, which is like a Western RPG, totally different. But I dig it. I'm excited for this stuff. And every time they release like Skyrim, what was the last one? They had Legendary Edition, right? And then there was like another.
Yeah,
one
there's been so fucking many.
Well, however many editions of Skyrim has come out, it's like I never really actually started like a real second Skyrim playthrough. Like I'd play for a few hours, but I feel like this is the time where it's like, okay, I'm really gonna play Skyrim again based on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been getting write-ins about this in our live chat, and for those who are wondering, because people want to know, hey, what about the visual upgrades, right? Because coming alongside the Anniversary Edition is going to be next-gen enhancements like ray tracing, et cetera, maybe. And we have no details on that. We have no visualizations of that. So I don't know, again, what's going on here. These are two major things being left out. The next-gen enhancements, which maybe Bethesda's just sitting there going like, yeah, it's fucking Skyrim from 2011. Like, what do you guys want us to show you? It's not going to look that much different. But when you look at modded Skyrim playthroughs, like the game can actually still, I mean, it'll always have, even in my opinion, in its vanilla form, it will have a charming look to it. But despite disregarding that, when you mod it up, it's a beautiful game. And they can make it look beautiful. So I hope that's not their train of thought there. That's just an assumption. I
feel like they're not going down that train, which sucks.
Yeah, they're just stuffing it away, though. They're not detailing any of the next-gen updates. We don't know the price tag. Like, the content looks exciting, and I want to get to your thoughts in just a sec, but I'm thinking that what's happening is they want to get you excited as much as possible for the content. So when they announce the price with the next gen enhancements, you'll care a little bit less. Like I really think they're going to try to sell this for $60.
Oh yeah. I'm in that same boat too. Like I'm so confident it's going to be a $60 thing.
Yeah. And I'm curious what the upgrade path will be. Like I'm thinking that'll be 30. And if you're a Game Pass user, it'll be 20. That's where I'm at right now,
so upgrade path really means you own the last edition.
Yeah, you own special edition. You are paying now to upgrade that version. And I think they're going to go for 30.
Is there going to be a price for people who have Game Pass and also own their anniversary or whatever the last?
Oh yeah, if you like already own the game and you're a Game Pass subscriber,
Are you getting like a steal? Like are you robbing Bethesda? Because
no, I don't think so. I think it's just like if you own the game or you have it downloaded through Game Pass, whichever, and you are a subscriber, you will be paying a price for upgrade.
It bothers me so much about the graphics. Skyrim, I think, for its time, is a very beautiful game, and it's still beautiful. But there's so many things they could enhance and make it look even more stunning, especially since it's like this, it's like Nordic look to it. You know what I mean? It's like very what I guess tundra would be the right biome. I'm not really sure, but I love that like environment, and it kind of sucks that we're probably not going to see a crazy upgrade to it visually, because I think that would be a big pull for a lot of people. Like, look how Skyrim looks now. Look what we could do with the hardware. But I also know that's probably expensive and very time consuming for every little asset of Skyrim, and it would make it look more like a remaster than anything, rather than just like a new edition. So I can understand where they're coming from. And this new content is enough to incentivize anybody really to come back.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I'm in. I just, of course I'm in for content, just to be specific for those who are listening. Like I'm in as a fan, but if I were a consumer on the level of like I'm just looking if I should buy this or not, I would definitely like hold off and just wait, see, because there's just, for the timing of everything as we record this, at least it's a little too fishy for my liking. Pardon the pun, because they've added fishing.
I wish this is deviating from Skyrim a little bit, so I don't know if we're still talking about it, but can they do this for Fallout, please? Like Fallout 4,
Yeah.
Fallout 3.
No, I think it's in the same vein, by the way. I hope they do. Fallout 4 has Creation Club, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Bethesda
bring us
should
that
just
content.
expect people's expectations to go in that direction afterwards. Like, hey, how about we get a Fallout 4 special edition and it's got all the Creation Club content plus new stuff? I'd be all over that. I mean, they're probably going to wait and see what people think of this version now and how they're pricing it. And maybe that will decide if they do another anniversary edition or whatever you want to call it for Fallout 4. But you have all this Creation Club content sitting there, if you're Bethesda, that can be reused. And if you add a couple of new bells and whistles, which you did with Skyrim, it seems, that people will be excited for. We don't know if they'll be willing to pay your price yet because we don't know what that price is. But there is something there worth looking into, I think. And that, again, they're what's going to happen, Kobe? Is they're going to keep working it backwards, right? They're going to eventually do Fallout 4. And then they're going to hit a wall and go, fuck, now we can't just repackage Creation Club content. We got to go and like remaster New Vegas or remaster Fallout 3. And we could talk about that all show, right? But
yeah, that's been, I think we brought that up at least like a few shows now, like this inevitable remaster we're going to have to get.
Yeah, like, because the thing is now they're dipping back, right? Like we've seen them dip back into Skyrim, but if they dip back into Fallout 4, they have opened the floodgates, in my opinion. Do they have to do anything? No. But I think they would be very compelled to by that point. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, I just think the Skyrim re-releases, this should be the last one. It's kind of tired now. This should be the last one.
Yeah, I hope it is. Like the chaotic side of me wants to see it just not so well, so they know like, okay, maybe it's time to stop. But I also don't know if Bethesda needs that because I want them to have all the money they can get for Starfield. So it's like,
that's true.
It's like a double-edged sword there. But yeah, I would love to see them go back to other Fallout games. I wonder if they're thinking like, man, Fallout's just not lucrative, even though we know it is. But they had something new Fallout, people would go and buy it. But like, do you think investors who aren't very like game savvy, they see 76 and they see these numbers compared to the other games and like, yep, nope, let's go with Skyrim again. It's safe, it's easy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, worth the risk.
Because Bethesda was a privately owned company, so they just had like a shareholders group at the top, if I remember correctly. So I don't even know if investors were like a major thing now. I don't know if they are now because we've heard with Xbox that it's like this level of just do what you want. Hey, they give a shit. They kind of let us operate independently, especially in the case of Bethesda, where I think it's an internal decision. And what has likely happened is, my theory, it's kind of like Assassin's Creed with Japan. It writes itself. It's fucking obvious.
Oh my God.
And
that sounds amazing.
What happens is, I don't think these companies do it because they go, okay, we have selected that as our ace up our sleeve. If we are in crisis mode, we're doing that. We're making that. So Fallout 3 remaster, Bethesda's going down the tubes. Microsoft has gone bankrupt, even though they're now the richest company on the planet right now.
Are they actually?
Yeah, they've outriched Apple.
My Microsoft shares, they went up recently. That must be why. Like,
yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's got to be why. And it's time to sell. But yeah,
I'm buying.
Yeah, man. They I lost my train of thought entirely because I got so involved in
Sorry.
stuff. No, you're good. It doesn't matter. I was rambling anyway. But yeah, Skyrim New Details or Skyrim Anniversary Edition, new content coming. Hopefully we get a price soon. Anything you want to add in, or shall we move on to the next news topic?
Skyrim. What do I need to add to Skyrim? Nothing, because it's. Let's go. I'm tired of Skyrim. I don't want any more Skyrim.
Yeah. I'm excited to play it, but
yeah,
here's hoping that they broaden their horizons a little bit. Or as the song would suggest in the soundtrack, distant horizons. Okay.
It's Far Horizons.
Is it really? No, it's not.
Yeah.
No shot.
Yeah, it is. I'm checking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to check while you're ready to switch.
Okay.
Far Horizons.
You do that.
Skyrim Far Horizons.
Is it really?
Oh, no, you gotta. It really. I knew it because I grind this song. I love me some Skyrim soundtrack. Skyrim's OST is top notch.
I agree, but fuck that.
But yeah, fuck me for knowing the name of the song.
Fuck that and fuck you. All right. I'm pulling up the news because I think I linked. You're right. This interview that I linked here in our Google Doc is shitty. This was not the one that I was looking at.
I thought that. I knew it. I was like,
I don't know.
like,
how did I
is
get
this what
this
Matt
one?
was looking at? I cannot find anything about the news topic there. Like nothing.
Yeah, hold on.
And the
That's
interview
so
is so
funny.
ass too. It's like, what's your favorite? This one answer. Like
I was wondering. You messaged me. You're like, it's an ass interview. I'm like, it's a press release. Now I know why. 'Cause it was
Dude,
legitimately bad.
you didn't know. Oh my god, yeah. This is gonna sound pretentious, but like I'm going to school for journalism, so like, I literally like one of my last classes like how to do an interview, and like these interview questions are so dog shit, and the responses are bad, but the responses are bad because they don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
It's an interview with the creative director of or the creator of Matt, what is it? The game. Nathan Drake.
Oh, Uncharted.
Yeah, sorry, Uncharted.
Amy Hennig.
Yeah, the really
Yeah,
bad
she's
interviews
involved
from
in this, but the interview sucks. The press release is what I was looking for here. But I've grabbed an article from Eurogamer.
I found it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll roll with this Eurogamer article. So the news, now that we've got our ducks in a row here, and I didn't link the wrong article, is a new AAA action adventure Marvel game headed by Amy Hennig. We're going to read this article here from Eurogamer.net. Amy Hennig and Skydance Media are working on a new narrative-driven blockbuster action-adventure set in the Marvel Universe. Hennig, perhaps known best for her work as head writer and creative director on Naughty Dog's first 3 Uncharted games, joined Skydance back in 2019. Prior to that, she was working on a highly anticipated Star Wars title in conjunction with Visceral Games, which was ultimately canceled by EA. Skydance Media is the Hollywood studio behind the likes of Mission Impossible Fallout and Terminator Dark Fate, but Hennig's arrival at the company in 2019 signified its first step into video games. At the time, Skydance said its new studio, led by Hennig and Julian Beek, would concentrate on creating new story-focused experiences that employ state-of-the-art computer graphics to provide visual fidelity of television and film, but with an active, lean-in experience that puts the audience in the driver's seat. And now, almost 2 years later, we finally know what Skydance New Media, as the company's video game studio has been officially named, will be working on first. Although specifics of the new Marvel game are limited, it's described as a AAA title featuring a completely original story and take on the Marvel Universe. Skydance New Media's development focus is said to be on traditional gaming platforms as well as emerging streaming services, but it's unclear where its Marvel title will actually appear. Quote, "I can't imagine a better partner than Marvel for our first game." You know what? I'm not even going to bother reading that. It's such bullshit. I'm not even fucking waste my time with that.
That's press talk.
Yeah.
I know you're.
Yeah, that's the train showing up there. Why would I bore our audience with that? All right, so we got ourselves a new AAA action adventure game set in the Marvel Universe by the Uncharted creative director, first 3 at least. I have some thoughts on this, but I want to toss it to you as always and see how you're feeling about all of this.
If I'm like totally honest, I don't have many thoughts. My main thought is I'm really curious to see what section of Marvel we're looking at, because they said original story, right? So you might know this because you're kind of a Marvel guy. Does that mean we're getting like something totally new, or is it something we haven't seen in a video game from Marvel before?
Usually, it's a good question. Usually what I've noticed when they say original story in Marvel is, well, actually, you know what's funny is the wording here may make me contradict myself, but I'll finish my thought now, is when they usually say original story, it means like an original story for that character. Like they're not taking a comic, copy pasting it. They're making their own story within the Marvel universe. What's interesting is they say it's also an original take on the Marvel universe, which I don't know what exactly that means, because I could just be overthinking, and it's likely I am. Like they're trying to keep this kind of a bulletproof press release, so I'm likely not supposed to read into it. But when they say it's also an original take on the Marvel universe, it's like, well, are you talking broadly now? What's in your Marvel universe that's not in Insomniac's Spider-Man PS4, or what's in Insomniac's Wolverine game, or in Guardians of the Galaxy? And by that, when they say original take in the universe, is it just like it's its own time period where these group of heroes are together, or this single hero is there? That's something that I may be, again, overthinking, but is worth bringing up. But yeah, if you don't have much thoughts, then all I'll say is I'm kind of in this same boat with Amy Hennig that I am with Jade Raymond. So Jade Raymond was really popular for her work on some of the original Assassin's Creed games as I think a lead producer or something like that. It's really where she made her bones. And from there, she kind of moved from studio to studio. Now she's working directly with PlayStation in Haven Studio, I believe. But before that, she was like on Stadia. She went a while without making anything. And when you look at Amy Hennig, and we're talking Uncharted, right? So we look at Uncharted 3 release date real quick. I'm going to bring this up. This was November 1st, 2011. So we're talking about a decade almost at the point of recording this. And not that she hasn't worked on games or released anything since then. If anyone in the chat would like to remind me of a specific release, I could pull this into reverse real fast. But the way I look at it is she's in the same boat as Jade Raymond for me, where it's like this is a renowned name. She clearly did good work for PlayStation with the Uncharted series. Even though I have my own gripes with it, there's no denying, I feel, that there's something that people really like about Uncharted, and that it is a good series for most. I think it's a little overrated, but with that, she hasn't done anything of significance, of note, for a very long while. And anything she has worked on, and it's not her fault, has been shuttered, closed down. And so here we are 10 years later, and we won't see this thing for another like 3 or 4 years where, you know, I feel like she's got to prove it again, right? Like I feel like that's where it is, where I understand why this is a headline. It's a new action adventure AAA game for Marvel. And to announce it this early and from the studio that she's heading up, I mean, when you look at Skydance and what they released, like Terminator Dark or whatever, I don't know. It just doesn't click with me here on the level of big news. But I thought it was worth talking about.
It's big news because you got Marvel on the label there.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like it's solidified because we could just announce a new Marvel game, but I feel like it's mostly news for us and core gamers because of Amy Hennig's involvement. And again, no disrespect to her, because she's done great work. And I know she's been involved in stuff, but it's been a really long while since she's been at like the lead of something that has then come out.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with the Uncharted series. In fact, I haven't really played any of them, mostly because people like you and a lot of our other friends say that it's kind of an overrated series. So I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I do know that people speak highly of it. And I think I have experience with the Tomb Raider series, and I know they're pretty similar. I don't know on a narrative front how similar they are. I imagine, or I'd hope that Uncharted is actually better because Tomb Raider's narratives are like, I'd say they're like good or maybe even average would be good. So I'd hope that Uncharted is better. But someone said Amy Hennig worked on Forspoken.
Yeah, I was going to mention that once you were done. Yeah, that was something I want to throw out there. So we will see something from her co-writing that with Gary Whitta is what I saw. So wanted to throw that out there. But this is her in a lead role, a high up lead role. Not that I'm trying to defend my point too hard here. I'm just saying I think there's a little bit more of a prove it mentality here now that she's at the head of things again. Sorry, go on.
No, it's just like I think based upon Uncharted's like history and like how people, I'd say for the most part, approve of those games. I'm not really too concerned. I think it can definitely do well. I'm more curious as to what we're getting from Marvel. You know what I mean? I feel like that's when I'll sort of solidify my opinion on what's going on, because you were looking into it a little deeper than I was. You were like, a new take on the Marvel universe, because that's not just talking about a specific Marvel character. That's not like a new take on Spider-Man. Like I'd say, it's totally different if they're mentioning universe, because that means everything's going to be different. So it's almost like Marvel What If, you know what I mean?
I like that.
I don't know.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's sort of like more or less what that's hinting towards, but I don't know. I guess
we'll see. They didn't give us much room to talk on it, so.
Yeah.
So
it's the news.
We'll rock with it. We'll rock with this news and move on to a little bit more. This one's definitely the lightest of the bunch, though, surprisingly, in comparison to this one here, which is just that some Nintendo Switch Online and Sega Genesis Online games have leaked via listing. So we don't have specific titles, but right now we're seeing that the Switch Online expansion pack, which just came out this week, if anyone wants to check out Retro Rebound, I have a review of that up on the channel. It sucks. But anyway, the listings for
Really?
yeah, I think they did a horrible job with this.
Wow.
The listings offer 38 Nintendo 64 games and 52 Sega Genesis games. So as expected, they have a library that they're ready to release. This is how many you can expect. I'm thinking it'll probably be like 1 or 2 a month on top of everything else that they continue to add to the service for the SNES, NES. But I just thought this was worth bringing up as it's kind of the hot new thing. And to my surprise, collectively across the board, even Nintendo YouTubers are dunking on this one. And I can't say I blame them. I know you're not using your Switch much, so I don't think you tinkered with this at all.
I do want to pick it up because of the Animal Crossing update coming out. And also,
right.
Yeah, you can't forget Animal Crossing.
Right.
And I've never played Ocarina of Time, so that's when I'm going to play it. But you said the controls were bad, right?
Awful. Like I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic for the audience. I never am, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to make it very clear when I say like awful that their effort level was pathetic. I remember seeing the controller mapping one time, and it said that the X button was C down on the N64 layout. Which, yeah, exactly. It's like, why would the top button be down for C? By the way, it makes no sense at all.
So basically, they're just like, buy the new controller, right? That's what it sounds like.
Yep.
But I'd imagine it's sort of like a hard to get type thing.
Yes.
Like selling out.
Correct.
So great. So you're like hamstrung. You can't even experience these games normally.
Yeah. Now you can remap, but it's really at the base level, like what they've provided. Like it's a thin library. We know it'll be expanded upon as this news states. But again, the thin library, the controls, even the emulation quality to some extent. Like some visuals look like shit. Character models look sharper. But some of the visuals look like ass still, which shouldn't be the case when you have, as much as they don't want to legitimize that competition, you've got, but people who are doing this for free and doing it well through programs that already exist. So Nintendo has to be aware of that because all you're going to do is which they have now, put out a stinker, is you'll get some suckers who go in and go, nostalgia, and buy it. But you're also going to get people who are going to go, well, fuck you. I'm not paying for that. And go the other way and go download an emulator.
Does Nintendo care, though? That's my thing.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Exactly. And not to like discredit you or anything. And not
it's fair.
You. It's just like, they don't care. If they get their money from people that are suckers and bite on it, which you're one of those people. You're not a sucker. You have a review purpose, but I'm buying it for Animal Crossing. So like,
it serves your purpose, right? Yeah, they got you.
They got me, and they don't care. I guess, I could be wrong. They do care if people emulate. They have like this weird like hard-on for hating emulation. So,
oh yeah, with the Smash tournament and everything.
Yeah, but
remember that.
What bothers me about this is it's so anti-consumer because I'd say, we don't really know, but I'd say these games are optimized and ready to go on this new emulation platform, but they're releasing it over time so people stay subscribed to the service.
Dude,
it's just so shitty.
Okay.
But it's Nintendo. Like, I'm used to this from them.
No, but here's the thing that's bullshit. And you're right, it is Nintendo, so you're going to expect it. But think of like when Xbox bought Bethesda and we got 20 new games on Game Pass when they finalized that acquisition that day. On top of all the purchases and things they were adding there. I would fall out of my fucking seat if Nintendo announced a service like this with N64, like a highly requested thing, and they're like, here's 30 games. I'd be like, oh shit. Like they never over deliver. They just like put your balls on a string and like tug you along every month. And it's annoying.
They give you the bare minimum. So our expectations aren't high enough to where they have to deliver.
I feel so bad for modern Nintendo fans because they eat right out of their hands. They really do. I mean,
what are they going to do? Like they can't do anything else.
I get it, right? I get it. And who am I to talk? Because I was excited for Skyrim. Like I get it. Like we all got our own little comfort zones, our own little nostalgia stuff. And I respect it, understand it, 100% get it. But I mean, Nintendo's like, I think the most egregious company taking full advantage of their fans nowadays. Like and some may go, well, it doesn't matter if we get the product we want, but like they're providing what you want, but it's not at the quality it should be at. Like you're getting a Mario 3D All-Stars. Yes, you're getting the old Mario games back, but like they do nothing and they sell it to you for full price. Like they're cashing out on you so bad. And it's something Dustin brought up a lot, which is they have the obligation, their shareholders, to make as much money as possible. But I think there's a fine line there that we can draw between some morality and profitability. Like, I think you can still make a shit ton of money off of us while making something that's a little bit more worthwhile. That's all we're asking for.
I agree. And what it boils down to is like the ideology or the values of these companies. Like, they can make a lot of money while being pro-consumer, or they can make just a little bit more money while being not pro-consumer. And I think that's what the Nintendo's opting for. I think I don't know what it is with these companies, man. Microsoft, like you said, they are officially the richest company in the world. Yeah. And I'd say that a lot of their moves are pro-consumer. You have Bill Gates heading. I guess he's not really the CEO anymore, but you know, his ideology. He's a philanthropist. That word. So like that trickles down on Microsoft and it benefits them. But Nintendo's like, so no, we're gonna disappoint our fans because they pay us anyway.
It's
sad.
It really is. And you've seen it start to kind of crawl across their games where you and I love Mario Golf Super Rush, right? Because mechanically it's so sound. But you look at a game like that, which should have had the content it has now with the new maps you and I were playing the other night and the pro courses and the new golfers that you can play as, like, that's what it should have had at launch. Does that make it an awful game? No, but it's always that kind of like bad relationship where you fold your arms and you go like, okay, sweetie, I get it. Just please don't do that again. And it happens again.
It's so weird because like they gave it to us for free. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand Nintendo. They're so wishy-washy with this sort of thing. They could have easily like slapped that into a $20 expansion pass, 3 courses, 2 or 3 new characters, and all those other mini features, but they don't. So it's like, what is their purpose? Is it because they had to deliver the game at a certain time and that was planned content?
Yeah.
Like, I think like it's weird. But it's almost like some of these these Japanese companies have like their like ideologies behind them that they really like hammer down and follow. Because you don't see that as often with like Western game devs, right? So I don't know. It's very
like
odd.
a culture. It's like a cultural thing.
Yeah, I can imagine that contributes to it.
Yeah. Well, while the news wraps up, we got a super chat here that we'll get into. Michael Kulik, thank you so much for supporting the show. Hey guys, super late to this topic. But what are your thoughts on ray tracing being delayed for Halo? I think most of us were under the impression that it'd be ready for the new launch date. So yeah, this was something that occurred. I look at it this way. I'm very indifferent on ray tracing in general, for those who don't know. I'm big on art style, and I'm big on just what you see on the screen and the quality of that image. So what I mean by that is I looked at Halo Infinite when I was playing it and I went, this looks really good. I think, is it the best looking game ever? No. But I thought it looked really good. Do I need ray tracing to prove that it looks good? No, I just know it will look better. So I understand the need for it, why people want it. But for me, this really wasn't a big stinging point. Like, there's so much more that's important to me. Like, we talked about co-op, Forge, that I want there first before ray tracing. Like, I don't care about it. Not only that, but and of course, sometimes some games do support ray tracing 60. But I'm saying I would rather a higher frame rate. Sometimes ray tracing disables that, where personally, I don't know if I'll get the full use out of that for like a quality mode. I know that works for some people. But yeah, we appreciate the super chat, and I'd love to know some of your thoughts on that, Paul, on the delay of ray tracing.
I don't care because 90% of the time ray tracing is going to lock me in at 30 frames per second, and I will never play a first-person shooter like Halo in 30 frames per second. But you know, sometimes it doesn't happen. Like I know Spider-Man released an update, Spider-Man Miles Morales, where ray tracing was available in 60 frames. So, you know, sometimes it can happen. But beyond that, I think it's a testament to how how Microsoft is strangling 343 by the balls, saying this game needs to come out in December.
Yeah,
this game needs to come out.
They're delaying everything.
The Series X came out last year, right? And this was supposed to be a launch title for the Series X. So Microsoft is like, yeah, this game is coming out. So if you need to delay stuff, delay it. So, you know, it's concerning. Like I'm concerned for Halo purely because of that fact, because of how much shit is getting delayed and how it's so obvious that they're trying to release this game in December.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For me, it's almost encouraging because it's like, yeah, get the bullshit off your plate. Like, I don't think co-op and Forge are bullshit, but like, get the ray tracing off your plate. Like, yeah, this to me, if you're gonna delay something, you don't need to squeeze this in at launch.
They're like picking and choosing. Like, I'd argue what they've chosen, campaign and multiplayer, are the two most important things to release with the game.
Yeah.
So I trust them. It's just like, it sucks that Microsoft is really crunching them for this, but it's also like, I kind of just want to see it at this point. I don't want to wait another year because it's going to be a fall game. Then they wouldn't really release it in spring or winter or whatever.
That'd be wild if they did.
Yeah, so it's just like, I support it. Like, just get it out already and then improve it, because based on what we've seen, it's like, it's going to be good. It's Halo. We played the multiplayer. That's the main thing people are looking forward to.
Yeah, I just I see a lot of people want it out. They're like, just get it out, just get it out. And I feel like every other game when like it's struggling or something, people are going like, oh yeah, just delay it. We always want you to focus on the quality, but like everyone's over waiting for Halo. It's really interesting to see where if the game comes out and it's buggy and broken, I'm gonna be like, this is on you guys. You guys wanted it so bad, you know. And I don't mean to call you out because you said you wanted it out, but I'm just I see so many people saying that, and I'm just like, I don't want the game to come out and be broken. Sorry, but we played through Cyberpunk, and maybe my experience wasn't as broken as others, but seeing that reaction, that moment, I don't want to see that again. So you can delay it again. I'll live. There's so many fucking games coming out.
For me, it's not so much like I need to play Halo. It's just the fact that I think Microsoft sort of doesn't want to disappoint and underdeliver. Because what else do they really have going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Game Pass, and you probably know more, like there's other games, I'm sure, but it's just like, you look at what Sony's delivering, like you had Demon Souls, and you got Spider-Man, you got God of War, you got Horizon. I'm not trying to be like console wars kind of fanboy. It's just like Microsoft does need something.
Yeah.
Something delivered there.
I think they're aware of that, even though like Forza Horizon 5, when it comes out, that'll probably be like one of their most played games. But it's Forza. Like they know they need to deliver something that's not a racing game. They cannot be the racing console. They need more than that. And so they need Halo to come out this year and succeed and kind of have their 1-2-3 punch with Age of Empires, Forza, and then Halo. We got one more super chat from Michael. He says, personally, I think ray tracing would have landed a better first impression for the biggest game on new hardware, but I hear you. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth considering.
I can agree with that too. I mean, like, you look at a lot of people, the first game they played on their PlayStations with PS5s was either Spider-Man or Demon Souls. And Demon Souls had ray tracing, and God, that game is one of the best looking games I've ever played. So I can understand Michael's take there. It's like, it's a little disappointing, and like, you do really want that big game to be that showcase. So
did Demon Souls have ray tracing? I don't think it did.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna say like 90% certain that Demon Souls had an option to have ray tracing on or not. You can look it up.
I'm gonna give you a taste of your own medicine here. Demon Souls remake, ray tracing. Come on, baby.
I'm pretty sure it has it. I'm pretty sure it does.
Games Radar. Japanese website GameSpark has confirmed that Demon Souls will not support ray tracing on PS5.
Wow.
All right, we're tied 1-1.
That's okay, because Spider-Man has ray tracing. So my point still stands. The launch title for their console.
Just a little fork in the road there. You just went the other way. That's all.
Yeah. I was kind of walking on Demon Souls, and I cut across.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. All right, Michael, thank you so much for your super chats. We appreciate you.
Got another one.
Yeah, we got another one. Well, that's perfect because we're getting into Patron questions. Yeah, by the way, we leave it open for the audience to interrupt us. So just keep that in mind.
Another one.
Yeah,
wow. I'm loving this.
Yeah, here we go. Saboki writes in, what's your favorite home dish or favorite dish you prepare at home? I'm a big salmon guy.
Yeah, you were telling me, you sent a picture of your salmon the other night, and that looked so good.
Yeah, I did a good job. Thank you. I thought I did a good job on that.
You're gonna make some packed salmon?
Yeah, packed salmon, dude. I'm in. I'll do some packed salmon. Packed sea salmon's on the menu. Yeah, that was that's my favorite home dish to prepare. A little lemon, squeeze that in there. A little clove of garlic, and then I like to separate when I skin some of the salmon. I like to separate some of the bits off, and I call them salmon nuggets. So while they're like frying in the oil and the butter and they're going to be the most unhealthy part of the meal, but they're most flavorful. And that's absolutely my favorite part of the meal.
It's salmon though. Like Like you're getting that.
Yeah, I get it. It's the
but
same
you're
people who
eating
said
it
like
with
you're gonna get testicular cancer for keeping your phone in your pocket. It's like I don't fucking care. I'm putting my phone in my pocket. Like I don't care
Wait,
anymore.
That's not real, by the way.
No, I
That's
know,
not
but it
real.
was. I'm saying that was a big thing when I was in school, and eventually you're like, how many cracked eggshells can I walk on in my life before I'm just panicking about everything I'm doing? So
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like people who say, "You eat bacon, you're gonna get cancer." Like, yeah, if you grind bacon like every day of your life, but I'm gonna eat a piece of bacon on my sandwich. Like, sorry.
yeah. I
To answer
respect it.
Saboki's question for me, I'm not as big of a chef as Matt, but I'm looking to expand my culinary horizon. I love me some grilled chicken with maybe like anything on the grill. I'm a big grill guy. Throw some chicken on the grill,
fuck yeah.
hot dogs, burgers. I just love that like smoky taste to anything. And then some homemade mac and cheese. My mom makes a great homemade mac and cheese recipe that I've sort of
Oh.
learned a little bit. I don't know, Matt. You might not like it because it's one of those crusty mac and
Oh
cheeses.
no, it's baked.
But it's good.
No,
I'm telling you.
we need the chat to chime in.
It's got the layer. It's got the layer at the top, and then underneath is that creamy goodness,
Okay.
from mac and cheese. Yeah. Don't worry.
It's like
not,
a form of torture, though.
No. I'm telling you, it's good because you take a bite, and it's like armor for your mac and cheese.
That's horrible.
You bite into the crustiness, and then suddenly your mouth is filled with that gooey, creamy, golden nectar. It's amazing.
I like how
See,
sexually you just described mac and cheese, but
Mac and cheese is a very erotic food. I love mac and cheese. Just kidding.
no, bro.
More super chat.
Homemade mac and cheese is fire. When we made it in the Instapot, I think I took a picture of it. It looked
My mom
so
just
incredible.
got one for her birthday. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell her to make mac and cheese in it now.
Dude. I mean, look, I know you got something against creamy mac and chees, but if you like get over that,
No.
I'm-
I prefer creamy. I'm just saying, like baked with a little crunch on the top. There's nothing wrong with it. The world isn't in black and whites. I know this is how you operate, but I can enjoy two things at once. Two
Dude.
things can be true.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm sorry if you're out there and you're eating baked mac and cheese. I just respect you a little less. Now, Paul, you're my co-host, so I respect you more. We're like still on even ground here, but like if you're listening and you're putting your mac and cheese in an oven,
Unsubscribe.
yeah, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work. It can't work. So, shout out to anyone who likes baked mac and cheese. You're not welcome here. All right. Got a couple more super chats we'll sift through here. Jeff Garcia writes in, after Halo, what does the roadmap for Xbox look like?
Good question.
Yeah, 2022 would be completely desolate if they did not acquire Bethesda because they've got, there's some out there like Game Pass deals day one, like Plague Tale Requiem. You've got Stalker, which is Stalker 2, which is a timed exclusive.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah. Stalker 2 is a big one, but now we're seeing Death's Door go to PlayStation like 5 months after it came out exclusively on Xbox. Granted, it's an indie game, but it makes me question how tightly they're going to hold on to their timed exclusives and how much value they see in them. So really,
Sony doesn't let them go.
Yeah, exactly. They don't. Look at Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like they don't. And I understand why. It brings value to their platform. And then you've got Redfall and Starfield. Like I imagine they'll announce some more and there will be more indie hits, but I feel like 2022 is shaping up to be like a small upgrade. When I say small upgrade, I mean in the terms of like amount of content from what we saw in 2021. So unfortunately, a 2022 roadmap is kind of vague. Like we know stuff we'll see probably for the first time. Like I imagine we'll finally see Fable. I imagine we'll have already seen Avowed. We'll have already seen Hellblade, but I think those are 2023 games. So personally, as much as I'm excited for their future, I think 2022 is going to have just like a couple of big hits like we're seeing this year. Leggett has also super chatted saying, where is the 50K subscriber rap video at, Matty? It's still available. Unless
I think I saw it recently.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely still available. I never took it down, so you're not looking hard enough. Just type in Mr. Matty Plays Fallout Rap. I guarantee it'll come up. And if you haven't seen it yet, then enjoy. It's a side of me that I'm very proud of. All right, let's see here. Fall Upside is our next super chat. Thoughts on visiting the Ark in Halo Infinite? So it's funny, you've caught me at a decent time where I actually have begun replaying all of the Halo games in anticipation for Halo Infinite, and I'll be doing like a 2021 review of Halo Master Chief Collection. So just keep an eye out for that in the future. But I'm actually relearning the lore, because as I had combed through Halo again, I realized for Halo 2 it had been easily over. It'd been since Master Chief Collection came out, so that was 2014. For Halo 3, I don't even think I managed to get back to that, so it had probably been since like early 2010. With Halo 1, I had replayed that enough where I knew that like the back of my hand. Halo 4, I played once. Halo 5, I played once. So I was realizing as I was going through and taking in this universe again and stitching some things together that I was kind of like new to all of this lore, because I was looking at it from a more mature standpoint. I wasn't just running around shooting aliens like I was when I was younger, even in college. Like I just didn't take it as, I didn't consume it on a deeper level like I am now. And so what I'll just toss out there is like I'm learning something really cool, like the history of the Covenant. I found this cool terminal in Mission 8. It's Delta Halo, I think that's 8, of Halo 2. And in that terminal, you learn the backstory of the Covenant and how they had like ships at one point and how they met the Prophets and how they kind of became one that you start to see in Halo 2. They really color the backdrop of the universe quite well, where I'm learning more and more. So as for the arc here, I've looked it up and I'm trying to find like a quick explanation for it, but I'm open to folks writing in about what fully it is. The reason I say that is because, like, for example, I know it's in Halo Wars 2, and I know it's mentioned in Halo 2, and it's appearing in 3, which 3 I haven't replayed in a while. So what were you about to say?
I was able to quickly figure out what it is. It's basically, it's called Installation 0. It's a Forerunner installation, and the idea is it houses organisms in the galaxy in case a Halo is activated. So it's like a safe spot, so you're not going to get fucked if you're at the Ark. There's probably more to it than that, but that's what I was.
Yeah, I could see how, because I know they're saying they began working on the first Halo rings as their solution to the flood threat, and I'm wondering, because they had the flood like expansion in Halo Wars 2, and since they built the Ark,
it's almost like a vault. And they're just gonna wipe everything. Like, you know how Halo rings are like they deal with the flood, right? Wipe everything out, all organisms. So I think that's what the Ark is. Sort of like
the chat's reiterating kind of what we're saying here, which is that it builds all the Halo rings, it stores life forms, kind of the heart of the universe here, if you will. Right. And the idea of that being in Halo Infinite sounds fitting because we've got another ring, right? We've got the Banished on this ring now. I have to imagine the flood is in play.
We don't know a lot about the Ark. It said enigmatic when I was looking it up. So maybe we'll find like someone there who's been there for a while. I'd love to be like, see a group that thinks that the entire world is like, it's unpopulatable.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word, but
yeah, I know. It's a deep into the podcast. You can make up words now.
Yeah. Next, we have another tap in from Drunk Volcano, who's been patiently waiting. Don't worry, we're gonna get your tap in soon. He said, "Matty, we doing one more call in?"
Yeah, we're doing call in. It's just this is the first time we've actually had a lot of super chats. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're just like sifting through them.
It's funny. We were joking before the show that like this show's made like no money, and we're like, all right, whatever. But like now everyone's super chatting. It's like, okay, we've actually made some money this episode, so we appreciate you all doing that. I can't
wait to see my check in the mail.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll pay you like $10 an appearance now. And then Ben Dover's our last super chat that's been waiting for us. Ham Cooking Show, episode 1, mac and cheese. That'd be a fun little special.
Little Pax ham.
Yeah, little Pax ham. Honestly, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that'd be fun. People could see the height difference.
Yeah. But full upside, as for your question on Halo's lore, I'll have more to say on this in a later episode if you want to write in again, because I'm refamiliarizing myself with stuff. So right now I'm at the end of 2. So I'll probably have more to say on the Ark and aspects of where Halo could go, because you're saying like, oh, there's not lore nuts like me, but like I bought the Shadows of Reach book for Infinite. Like I'm going in, like I'm going all in on this one, because I'm very excited for Infinite at the end of the day. Even if with some of my concerns sitting there, I want it to be very good and I want to get fully invested in it. So I'll be able to answer more of these questions later on. So consider writing in when I'm less of a moron. All right, so let's do some call-ins. And if anyone super chats, we can.
Drunk Volcano.
Okay. Hey, dude, that's fine. Let's do it up.
All right. Patiently waiting with Drunk Volcano.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Same jacket, same shades. There he is. What's going on, Volcano?
You had me a little nervous because you said, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna hop straight into the Patreon questions." I was like, "No, I came here. I've waited. How long this show's been going on? Just so I could talk. Just to talk shit to Maddie."
Oh,
Okay.
no. Okay.
All right.
Glasses
So
off.
I am here in defense of Kopi because last week you were dogging on Kopi for drinking the cherry Coca-Cola out of the wine glass.
I love the support. Let's go.
Okay. Maddie, when you're at a birthday party, you have decorations, yeah? And you have the paper
I don't know. I don't
plates.
celebrate my birthday. I'm just kidding. I do, but go on.
I'm not saying your birthday. No one wants to celebrate yours. Come on.
Matt's almost 30 now. He
decorations.
doesn't get birthdays.
Yeah, no more birthdays for you.
I'm old and depressed.
At Christmas time, you have the fancy like penguin dishes, snowman dishes.
Yes,
And-
you get it.
And at Thanksgiving, you have the wine glasses. Now, Kopi, what the left wine glass or the white wine glass? Which?
I think
which
it's more,
one?
more on the right.
So
More
this
on
one.
the right. No, my right. Sorry. That one. Yeah.
So this is a. I asked my residential alcoholic. They said this was a white wine glass. Now, Maddie, I was watching over the video. I have a timestamp here. I took some notes. In last week's episode, at 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds, one of Maddie's complaints is that you won't be able to hold enough drink in the wine glass. Now, as we all know, a can is 10 or 12 ounces, okay?
Okay.
This wine glass can probably hold up to 10 ounces, okay? And we all know that once you start pouring, you take a little sip and then you continue pouring, yeah?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I can concede that. Yeah.
So I don't see the problem, because that was one of your main points, Maddie, was, well, what if you just gotta keep pouring? So
Matt's trying to perpetuate this idea that it's uncommon for you to have your can or whatever on the side of your fancy cup. Like, I've seen that a million times where you have a glass, you pour from the glass or a bottle, like if you're drinking champagne or whatever, on the table. And when you finish your drink, you pour some more. Matt's starting to act like this isn't normal.
yes,
And
and
it's disgusting.
I have hosted Thanksgiving at my household for more than 10 plus years now. And we also have this set, like, even more into the decoration sides for Thanksgiving, is you set the table. Because you're supposed to eat around the table, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or maybe you have some people on the couch watching the game.
Of course.
Exactly.
We have this fancy set of silverware that is gold. And it gets used once a year. Can you guess that one time it gets used?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's Thanksgiving. So, that's my point, is you have the nice glasses for the nice occasion. And then my other thing is we gotta talk about the ice, and I've been wanting to say this for a while. I might sound like the Diablo guy. Do you guys not have refrigerators, okay? Is this such a problem with the ice cubes? Do you not own refrigerators?
That's my point. I'm saying I refrigerate my drinks. I don't need ice cubes. In fact, most of the time I go without. We have a pitcher of glass that I put water in. So when I want water, I don't get it from the tap because it's never cold enough.
We got a jug here.
Yeah, exactly. And you pour it into your cup if you want a cup of water or whatever. You don't need ice.
And then even if your drink, let's say I'm watching Maddie's podcast, I need to keep myself refreshed. I want something cool. You can get one of these stainless steel cups. Now, I'm not saying you have to get the Garbage Bengals logo on it, but just get a stainless. No ice needed for your drink to be watered down.
Okay.
We're living in the modern age.
Where do I even begin in my defense? I love the irony here of me sitting in the guest spot because I'm getting talked down to on my own fucking show. Now, with that in mind, let's talk wine glasses 2 weeks in a row, okay? I'm ready to go at this, right? You forget, I've fought the battle of ketchup pre-cum. I've fought the battle of ice cubes with Dustin Furman for fucking weeks. I can go on as long as anyone wants me to. So feel free to return, Volcano, with new timestamps. Of course. We love to have you here. Shout out to all the super chats we've been getting. This is great. All right. Now, you brought in fluid ounces here, right? The amount that can be held. But seeing is believing. Do you have a liquid by chance that you could pour into your wine glass
You're
now?
so desperate that you're asking for
If
evidence.
you give me 2 seconds, I'll get a liquid.
Please,
Matt,
I'll halt my
I just
argument.
want the chat. I want chat to know Matt is really trying to die on this hill. He has to have evidence of a glass being poured in, ignoring the fact that even if it doesn't fit all the way, you can just pour it later. That's the point. That's the argument.
Okay.
You're grasping at straws here, Matt. I'm sorry. It's
Because here's the thing.
it's over.
And I'll have to repeat this when he gets back, but part of the idea here is decorating the table, right? So hold on, before you pour it, now I can say here, part of the idea is decorating the table, as you have so eloquently stated, right? You take out the fancy crystal set once a year. So why would you want to have, in Kopi's case, like a fucking Nestle's Pure Life bottle sitting next to your fancy little wine glass? You wouldn't, right? So that's my idea here is using this impractical drinking object for your soda.
Wait, I got a counterpoint. He was drinking cherry Coca-Cola, which isn't it seasonal at times?
Is
Or
it?
am
Yeah,
I-
Is cherry Coke seasonal?
It can get a seasonal label, but beyond that, Matt, I kept my Coke in the fridge so it was cold. When
Okay,
I wanted more, I
let's
got
talk-
up and I went to the fridge.
Let's talk
And,
convenience.
For about 20 seconds, actually not even. Let's say 15.
Let's talk convenience. We're talking Thanksgiving. We're talking family time. You want to be there glued to the side of those who are closest to you. You can't be getting up every 5 seconds to get a new drink because you're drinking from a 2-ounce glass.
You think I'm finishing it every 5 seconds?
Yeah, bro. The glass is like this big. It's done
No,
with.
it's
You're
not.
taking one sip.
It
It's
is
done.
not.
We're having we have a presentation here, please. Thank you.
This is a presentation. This is a Arizona tea, and I'm looking at the serving label. It's 11.5 fluid ounces. If anyone doesn't believe me, you can look it up.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Go for
crack
it.
this open.
This is it. All right. Let's see how much we can fit in this cup before.
Hey, you're
I'm
gonna
gonna be
fuck.
pissed if it's the full thing. Fuck! Are you kidding me?
And that's almost the exact same kind of cup. It
I'm
was a
in
little
awe
wider.
right now. Now, Kopi.
Okay.
He's slugging it down too. I respect this. Is this cup that he is slugging from right now, would you say this is the size of the one that you were drinking from?
A little wider and a little smaller, but pretty
It's
much the
12
same.
ounces. It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
shape or size the can comes in. This
Yeah.
was 11.5.
All right.
Yeah. That's
All right. I think I may have lost this one because he just poured the full fucking can and
chug the whole thing.
not even the chugging part. Chugging was just a flex. But he poured
Yeah,
the whole
no, but-
can and it fit the whole drink there. Now, let's talk ice cubes though. I might have a counterpoint there.
Well, it's not going to fit because it's going to flow over the
Yes,
top when you put
exactly
it.
that. Exactly that.
Matt,
Now you've got
keep
a
your drink
can
in the
with like
Volcano,
tinkle
volcano.
levels of
Did you need
That
ice
was
cubes?
in my refrigerator. That was in my refrigerator.
You didn't need ice
It's been
cubes.
sitting in my refrigerator for the past like
didn't need
24
ice
hours. I didn't need an ice
Yeah,
cube.
you look desperate now,
I
Matt.
ran up I ran up 14 steps, grabbed the can out of the refrigerator, and poured it into the
You're
drink.
trying so hard. It's really pathetic. It's really pathetic. It's sad.
In a tiny.
Sad.
Do you need ice cubes with your Coca-Cola can?
yes.
Why?
Yes.
What do
No,
you?
I don't. I don't want my Coke to be watered down. Then it just tastes like sugar water, fructose.
You guys are acting
syrup
like you
water.
got some of the most sensitive tongues on planet Earth. That's what I'm
I'm
hearing.
acting
Okay, have you
like
ever
I have-
gotten
I
a
have one
McDonald's
refrigerator.
drink?
How many ice cubes do you guys put in
Yeah.
your drinks on average? Kobe, I think you answered this, but like how many ice cubes are we averaging?
I don't put ice cubes in my drink. I in the
I
refrigerator.
love it. I love
so
it.
you
I
don't
love
even know an answer to this because you just never do it.
No, I never.
I
do it.
respect it. He doesn't need to.
All right,
Oh,
like even when I go to fast food places like McDonald's, I tell them don't put any ice in it.
Okay.
Come on.
So you had to have
That's
encountered a lukewarm drink at least once, yeah?
Oh yeah, of course, a couple times.
Okay. Has that been a
Here-
worthy
here-
trade-off because you have such a battle against ice?
Why? Yes, it has. I would
agree.
rather have a semi-lukewarm, like how lukewarm we talking about? We talking
I'm
piss hot, or
talking, I'm
we
talking,
just
no,
like?
I'm talking room temperature. Let's be honest. I don't think I've ever
All
been
right, room
served piss hot soda.
I would much rather still have the taste and flavor if it's
Yeah,
lukewarm than watered down. If I want something watered down, I'll just go drink water.
I agree with Volcano, and here's why. Because soda is notoriously unhealthy for you. Now, we're just talking about soda. It's notoriously unhealthy. If it's largely recommended that you avoid it. It's not even like, oh, you just have one every once in a while. No, you should probably avoid it. Do I know? But that's besides the point. The idea is, if I'm going to be drinking a nice sugar-filled soda, I don't want to water down because then I'm just wasting that unhealthy drink on some garbage.
This is you talk about me dying on hills. This is you pledging to your body, I'm killing you one way or another. And so I'm going to finish the soda in the most syrupy way possible.
You're derailing.
No, it's Maddie. What Kopi is saying is that soda is a treat and should be treated as one.
Exactly.
You don't drink. Okay. You're not supposed to drink soda every week.
Okay, I've been told here by not one but two gentlemen that if an ice cube is placed in your drink, it has watered it down so much it's no longer the sugary treat. Have I understood that properly?
That I have experienced it, and I agree. I do think it can really ruin a nice soda.
After 30 minutes, you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
So
I think it also might I could be wrong, but it might catalyze the process in which the carbonation goes away too. There's just so many problems with ice cube.
No, because I would argue that a crispy, freezing cold drink, I think that enhances the flavor. Like we got Volcano out here drinking room temperature soda, like he loves it, and I'm thinking to myself, you toss an ice cube in there, and it's suddenly it's been enhanced. Yes, you may be on a time limit, but if let's say it melts, you got something to do, you got to go to the bathroom or whatever. When you come back, unless you've literally done McDonald's levels of ice cubes in your drink, where it is melted like this much water, a cup's worth, I would understand where you're coming from. I'm talking you're splashing 1, 2 frozen. 3 is the perfect number, by the way. Frozen cubes of water in there, which equals to probably like
this is incorrect.
A little bit of water. And you're
that's
telling
all
me
about
that's
volume.
You're telling me it's completely diluted the experience of drinking a soda.
Do you not have any patience? Is patience not a factor? If my drink is hot or lukewarm temperature, put it back in the not even the refrigerator. Put it in the freezer.
Why though? This eliminates it entirely. What if I'm in a gaming
I usually don't even do that myself. But if you're that worried about drinking a lukewarm drink, then just put it back in the freezer or just get one of these.
Here's the thing about ice cubes. Ice cubes, I don't think their purpose is to cool a drink. Because if you're using it in that way, it doesn't work. If I have if this is a warm soda and I threw 3 ice cubes in here, if it was maybe a little bit higher, the whole thing, it's not going to be cold. It's just going to be like the top. Ice cubes are supposed to preserve the cold. It's supposed to preserve that. And I think it fails at its job because while it does preserve the coldness of your drink, it also waters it down.
Wait, I got a way to alleviate this problem. Maybe next podcast. Maddie has 2 cups of soda. Your favorite soda, where you would be able to tell the most distinct, minute differences. You have them sit on that back desk that's like over here.
Right here? Okay.
You have
I
them
would love
sitting
to
here.
see Matt
And then from
soda.
the start, you have the left one, no ice cubes. Just out. I bet you have probably a fridge in that place. And if you don't, I'm sorry.
I do.
Okay, there. You have the left one. Both of them refrigerated the exact same amount of time.
Okay.
The left one is gonna start out no ice, and the right one's gonna have your preferred 3 amount of ice.
Yeah, and we'll see what the difference is.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to physically taste after. So.
I'm gonna do this. I'm putting a reminder in my phone for Friday afternoon.
No, here's the thing. I feel like I might have to do it too.
And cups.
I might have to do it too because I don't trust Matt. I don't trust him to be honest about this.
Of course.
He's not gonna.
Perfect science can be proven. That is the point of science. It can be proven and tested multiple times by different people.
We need a control group. Volcano. Yeah. You might have to join us.
Well, see, it would look biased if I was the control group because I'm the one perpetuating that.
That's true. You're here defending me. So Well, that's we might just have to be a little off the road.
I'm right here, so you can trust me that I will be putting soda and cups fairly in there. They'll be refrigerated. And you want me to do an iced one and a non-iced one? Is that the
yes, and then maybe after like 30 minutes or you're
no, you need 5. It's not even 30.
No.
5, 10 minutes maybe.
We can do multiple testing groups. We can do 5 minutes, we can do it 30 minutes, and then an hour.
I wish we could have a blind study where Matt doesn't even recognize it. That would be the best. Because then we can get an unbiased take. But
no.
I know next week we're going to get some results. We might have to look at them very critically because I don't trust Matt on this. And neither should you, Volcano. No one in chat should trust him. But I'm curious to see where this goes.
Yeah,
I really am.
I've written it down on my phone. 3:30 tomorrow. I'll be grabbing a little bit of soda. I'll be drinking my first sip of soda in fucking
What soda?
years. Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is usually my go-to, unless I find orange soda. It depends how I'm
Now-
feeling that day.
I feel like Mountain Dew is a perfect one because it can be really bad when it gets watered down. I don't drink Mountain Dew, but I know it's like that. So
It's very noticeable, also. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you said.
very, very noticeable.
And what I'll do
So
is
this is
I'll
good.
pour them in some cups. I got some cups here at the studio, and I'll refrigerate one or both.
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 Why would you only refrigerate one? That
I don't
makes
know.
no
I'm
sense.
just trying to make sure.
The
One's gonna have ice,
refrigeration is your control.
and one's gonna have
Yeah.
one's gonna have ice. One's not gonna
Both
have ice.
refrigerated.
Because I
one
thought
has
the
ice.
idea was you keep one out and throw ice in it, and one is refrigerated in.
No,
point
because
is
we're
the
talking
first-
about the amount of time it takes to water down a drink, also the difference in taste during.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
proving to you the difference in taste. Since you haven't had a soda in a while, this might not be something you're aware of, but it's a serious issue for soda drinkers out there.
Okay.
And it's why many of us don't opt for ice.
I will commit to this. I'll make it happen next week. So for those who are curious, tune in. We'll start off our episode with that. Otherwise, the sodas, both of them, will just flatten out, and then I'll have a leg up in my argument.
All right, well, see you, gentlemen. I'm glad I had to get this. I had to get this out. I've been
No,
thinking about this all
Volcano,
week.
you're the greatest ally. I love seeing you come to my defense. This is amazing. If someone wants to come to Matt's defense next week or whenever,
Yeah, right. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
see anyone rushing to my defense, but that's okay.
maybe it's
Well,
because
that's
you're a
because you're
maniac.
wrong.
Hey, yeah, I haven't seen anyone in chat come to your defense, so there's probably a reason for it.
If you believe everything you see online,
That's why you're testing it.
Okay.
All right, see you guys.
take it easy,
All right.
Volcano.
See you, Volcano.
Will do.
All right, fuck that
Wow.
guy.
No, greatest patron, greatest tap in. Volcano's
Yeah,
a
no,
hero.
he's a good time. I appreciate that. That's the thing. When I started up the show, I was like, certainly people are going to come in and rib me at one point or another, right? Like that's what I was kind of hoping for. I love getting a good roast on. I was enjoying the hell out of that. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that. Like we like when the audience challenges us. We love hearing your takes, by the way, but we're open to being challenged. We got a number of super chats during that, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
Yeah.
you're it's ready to sift through them.
Yeah, we got two from Clyde Frog 97 Chad. I've been in the process of creating an RPG. It's based 17 years after the world shut down in 1999. I have a lot of ideas for factions, quests, and such, but I'm struggling to create unique guns. So my question is, do you have any ideas or tips? Thank you ever so much, gents. Have a lousy, the wrong podcast. Have a wonderful night, gents. All right. So,
We might have good answers for this.
we might have good answers for this, but we also might not because we're working on our own game. We don't want to
That's what I'm saying. That's why we might have good answers. I'll let
Yeah.
you go first.
I'm thinking if it's 1999 and 17 years after the world shut down, I would probably give you a basis rather than an actual gun idea. Like you're going to want something makeshift, right? If the world shut down, and you got to look at objects around the house and think like, what could I stitch together that I could almost pseudoscience into a weapon? That's my mindset. That's what it would be.
Yeah.
Because eventually if you're making an RPG or a game, you just want the player to some extent to be like, oh, that's cool. I don't know what kind of RPG you're making, if it's like turn-based or first-person open world or whatever. But that would be my suggestion is like look at objects you can stitch together and what
I'm
you
with
could
Matt
shoot.
here. I think the clear point is pseudoscience in the sense that like you don't need to explain it too much. You can see like if you have a PVC pipe. Matt, I don't know what you're doing.
I had
You're
hair in my
distracting
mouth
me
like
here.
that whole time. I was just like, what the fuck?
If you get like whatever, like example, PVC pipe and whatever would launch a projectile, you don't need to super explain it. It doesn't need to be super sciencey. You can sort of just fake it and just make it cool. People
Yeah.
like that.
Look at Fallout with the junk jet where you just
Yeah.
put
I-
paper in there and you're just like poof and you shoot it. It's like cool.
Or a teddy bear. I will say, I feel like if you ground it more in the sense of like still keeping it about guns, because this could totally be a me thing. I don't think I've ever spoken about this, but I kind of roll my eyes when I see like Far Cry 6 or 5 had a music disc gun, and I never used it. It's like okay, it's kind of cool, it's kind of quirky.
I get what
whatever.
you're saying. Yeah. It's very Saints Row 4, Saints Row 3.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
fits in very specific worlds. You have to be careful with that stuff.
So still keep it with like still keep them as guns. You know what I mean? But then like you mentioned junk jet, and I agreed. So maybe I'm a little biased towards Fallout, where I've already seen it happen, where people make guns out of whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I would say Fallout's a great place to look, Clyde.
Yeah, definitely use Fallout.
Shout out to Cassandra M for the super chat. Saboki also super chatted saying to Volcano, tell him the Bengals aren't trash. They're goated. Who day? Bengals, baby. I'm a fan of the Falcons, so I feel you both on just being fans of bad football teams. Last super chat, and then we'll get into some patron questions. Cool Breeze KS writes in, hey guys, it's the first episode I've been able to tune into. Jeez, God bless. You caught a wild one. I have 2 questions. When will we see more of the Halo TV show? What are your hopes and expectations for it? I almost forgot that was coming, right? It's kind of like in the same vein as the Fallout TV show, where when I see it, I'll probably have a lot more thoughts on it. But as it stands right now, I think we'll see more of it in 2022, early 2022, I'm guessing, like keeping that Halo train rolling a little bit more. Hopes and expectations.
I don't know.
Do we know if this is based off of Chief or not? I don't know if you even remember this is exactly. I'll look it up in the meantime.
I honestly forgot it was a thing, but I almost don't want it to be around Chief because I think we got a Chief-centric, I guess, movie / thing. What was it? Fall of... I can't remember what it's called.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. I'd like to see something else, especially after playing Infinite, and I'm suddenly like more interested in the Halo universe. I want to explore different parts of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I totally forgot that was a thing. But you reminded me of the Fallout. This is derailing. I'm really excited for the Fallout TV show. I hope that's good.
Okay, I looked it up. There's actually some details on what he's looking for available. It's an upcoming live-action military science fiction TV series that will focus on the 26th century war between the UNSC and Alien Covenant. So that's
is that the first one?
Like, yeah, that's oddly vague yet specific. Because the reason I say that is because like 26th century war between, I mean, the UNSC and the Covenant are always fighting in Halo, right? So this could be anything. Yeah, it says Halo will weave deeply drawn personal stories with action, adventure, and a richly imagined vision of the future. Development, it had gone through development hell in 2015, later changed to 2019 release with Rupert Wyatt, and then 2020 release, and now it's currently planned to air in 2022 with Otto Bathurst as producer. So this thing's been ongoing for a while. I don't know if it's going to come out and be very good, but fingers crossed on that. It says Pablo Schreiber will be Master Chief. So, yeah, we'll see when we see, right? That's something that's going to be pretty interesting. But let's move into some of the patron questions. We got a couple to go through.
Yeah, we even actually had some coming in. That's what I was doing. I was jotting them down in the doc because we had some patron questions happening while we were live.
Oh.
So, yeah, we got a few.
All right, let's get it started with Natural Calamity. Hello, gents. First off, I want to ask, will Last Stand Media ever go to the other side of the U.S., maybe California or Oregon, where our own Carrick lives? I would love to be there to support you. As I live in Oregon, but as I live in Oregon, it was almost impossible. So to just answer that quickly, I know we're planning certain locations. We'll be announcing them shortly, I think, but I can't say where.
Orlando.
Yeah, it's not my place to announce it, rather. As for his question, he says, I know this is a stretch, but with Far Cry adding third-person integration, could that continue to be added into more games? Then Microsoft taking over Ubisoft as an acquisition, fixing the argument that they have no third-person games like Sony has all of their third-person games. I'm going to say no. That's Galaxy Brain right there.
Yeah. That's pretty Galaxy Brain take.
Yeah. Not talking down to you, but that's out there. I don't co-sign that idea. Let's get the second question from Natural Calamity. More of an idea. You are an explorer in Starfield, so go into the planets for recon. What if you are traveling the world, all of these cities that Bethesda made, but in the end of your ship, you have reclamation pods that that if you get into a suitable area, you can call it in. It's sort of like an ODST pod that slams into the ground, and that'll be a hub for base building, pretty much. Kind of makes sense. I could see that happening.
Yeah. It depends on how heavy they're going in with like the base building. I don't know. Like, are they going to leave it behind because Fallout 4? Are they going to take it? I imagine they will.
So
yeah,
I think so
it depends on. I definitely think like I don't know about an ODST pod, but you remember in Mass Effect when you could shoot little pods of planets to get resources? I'm like so confident there will be something like that. Yeah, I love doing that. I got addicted to just going around and finding like the highest. Yeah. It was so fun. But yeah, hopefully something like that's in there. I think we'll see it.
Agreed. I think we'll see base building. I'd be shocked if it wasn't there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we just got a comment here from Peepus the Wise. What's up, Ham Boys? No question today, just a quick pro tip. Maddie, I was watching your Retro Rebound video games you saw that you had bought, and you mentioned having to fight the GameStop price stickers. Get a little rubbing alcohol on a cotton ball, remove the paper game label first, and dab that alcohol on. Wait about 20 to 30 seconds. After a bit of the sticker residue will come off, no problem. Just use more alcohol as needed. Try not to get too much in the part where the clear plastic meets the case, as that avoids messing up the adhesive. Happy game collecting. Yeah, so I've actually done this before. I use Goo Gone. What unfortunately happens is sometimes it bleeds through the plastic, and you can see a little bit of saturation and like oil on the case and in turn the art. It's on some of my whatever.
He said you can take the art out to do that.
No, I did it without the art. I should mention that. But it's when you put it back in, which I just put it in too quickly. But I also use, like I said, Goo Gone, which is different from just rubbing alcohol. So I will give that a shot. I appreciate the write-in, the suggestion, and I'll let you know how that goes. All right. Sean Mason, we had already talked to, so we can bounce right now to Grimblade. This is a great question because you, myself, and our friend group were having a debate on this one.
Yeah, very heated debate.
Where is your hype for Shin Megami Tensei 5? Seriously, though, what are your thoughts and feelings on what you've seen on the game? I haven't heard either of you discussing it much, but that game seems right up both of your alleys. Well, the Ham Bros, it appears today was not in the cards. I'm currently boxed away in a COVID hotel, so it's condensed me to mobile. Well, that's unfortunate, Grim. We hope you're feeling better, man, and be well, take good care of yourself, and stay sane, most importantly.
Yeah, stay sane. You know, don't get too crazy being boxed up. For me, Shin Megami Tensei just isn't Persona, and that sounds really bad, but we were talking about this earlier, and the whole argument about it was, if you're not a Shin Megami Tensei fan and you're a Persona fan, are you expecting Shin Megami Tensei to have more elements of Persona than it does, or than it actually does? And I'd say yeah, because I mean, even Persona was originally called Shin Megami Tensei Persona. It's a spin-off. So that was what the argument was about. Some of us thought that it wouldn't, or it shouldn't, and some of us thought that it would. But beyond that, I just think that Persona has a lot of elements that make it unique. The combat itself and the Persona building are cool, and I like that in Persona. But what I really like about it is like the charm from the music, the characters, the high school life simulations, and the social links. And as far as I'm concerned, Shin Megami Tensei has none of that, and instead it has just like hardcore RPG aspects, and I like that, or JRPG aspects. But I don't know. I just think what I like about Persona isn't present in SMT. And I think your answer is probably going to be similar.
Yeah, to build off of that, the way I look at it is you can see that SMT 5 is borrowing, and I know, by the way, SMT gave birth to Persona, but you can see now that Persona's clearly popularized it, that SMT 5 is borrowing some elements, we'll say, from Persona 5, because Persona 5 is really what put that series on the map where it's, I don't want to say mainstream, but it's more recognizable, way more recognizable, especially when you compare it to when like 3 was out, 4 was out. Like it was still kind of niche, where now you're seeing it enter a much more popular circle. So with SMT now borrowing from it, what happens is, unfortunately, even though it shouldn't be this way, SMT is trying to retain its identity of, as Paul said, well, you know, being this hardcore JRPG, very difficult battles, kind of nut crunching, but yet it almost looks like a watered down version of Persona 5 because of that. Even if it's not really that, and it's not really fair to call it that, it can't help but feel that way.
And I think what the reason why is because like Persona is a spin-off. So like they're going to build upon what's already there and make it different. And that's what pulled people into the series. I doubt if Persona came out just like SMT, like people wouldn't really care for it. It wouldn't have got nearly as popular. I mean, the whole thing about I'd say Persona 5's popularity comes from the fact that it's so different. Like its art style, it's like in the UIs and stuff, is so flashy and unique and different. And that even lends credence to why they take turn-based combat, which a lot of people think is like too monotonous to enjoy in modern day, and just make it so much fun. So the fact that that's not really present in SMT is sort of why I'm not there. But I still want to give it a try. I don't know if I'm going to play it, but I will give it thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like, I'll consider it.
Yeah, I played SMT4 Apocalypse. It was all right, as we've talked about it a little bit on this show. And I'm thinking 5 will definitely be better. I already pre-ordered the collector's edition because I just, you know, I don't know. What was I thinking when I
It's
did
only
that?
on Switch, right?
Yeah, which is fine with me.
What does it come with?
It comes with, I believe, like a Jack Frost thing.
Okay,
It
that's
comes with,
kind of
like, a
cute.
little, I want to say a bag. I'm not sure.
I like Jack Frost.
Came with some cool stuff. I remember seeing it and being like, okay, I'm about this.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. I might be totally misremembering and not knowing what I spent my money on. That's entirely possible. I got to be honest.
How much was it?
It was like 100.
I'm going to Google it.
Because I remember getting cooked up because it was limited. It had already sold out in the U.S. when I had pre-ordered it. So I pre-ordered it from Canada at the time. So I had to pay a little extra for shipping.
It comes with a bag. It comes with steelbook. It comes with a figure. Oh, no. Wait, it's a box.
A box.
A soundtrack. Sorry. I saw like the character on there on the box. And I was like, oh, it's a figure. It comes with a soundtrack, a sling bag, a book, and a steelbook. Yeah, kind of an ass one minus the sling bag. You wasted your money on that for sure.
I love the bag. I'm always a sucker for bags. Like the one I got for Trails of Cold Steel 3, dude. Legit. That shit, I literally take that to Laylee's all the time.
Persona had a cool bag in 5, right?
Yeah. I use that a lot too, actually.
Jack Frost is on the bag. So you're not entirely wrong.
Okay. I knew I saw Jack Frost somewhere. But yeah, we'll see with this one. It's kind of the same situation with Fallout and Wasteland, except I thought Wasteland ended up doing... I feel like they went in their own separate ways where you really... Like, they had a similar vibe, but like Fallout's open world now. It's very different from what Wasteland is, which is isometric RPG. So we're not seeing that same split here where I do think SMT5 may feel like watered down P5. We'll see, though. I'm going to play it, and I'll figure it out myself.
Your opinion on the game will shape whether or not I buy it. So
okay,
because I have no
pressure's on. All right, Ray is our next write-in. I'll hold off on the conversation question I had for next week. Instead, I have this. I like this, by the way. Hey, shout out to anyone who is waiting and call. If you feel like you don't want to wait or you want to talk about something else or it's getting late, feel free to throw it in the Patron question section. We really appreciate that because we still want to talk to you. As this year nears its conclusion, we start looking towards the game of the year. We had awesome games like Metroid Dread, Hitman 3, Psychonauts 2, It Takes Two, etc. Nevertheless, it feels like we've been missing that knockout punch. Gentle Folk, do you agree with that statement? Is that standout game of the year missing in 2021? Could it still be coming, like maybe Halo Infinite? Also, Maddie, who got in the World Series? Who you got in the World Series? How many games? And who's the World Series MVP? I'm gonna say Ozzy Albies, Braves in 6. Appreciate that question, but all right.
To answer his question, I kind of agree in the sense that we don't really have a knockout. Like, yeah, this is game of the year. I think it's very ambiguous. For me personally, I have one, and it's It Takes Two, and I think you just have to play that game to understand why. It's very, very, very innovative. All for innovation in games because that drives people forward. It creates competitiveness. It brings new ideas to the table, and I think It Takes Two is absolutely mind-boggling with how crazy and how much is thrown into that game. Like every moment is something new, a new mechanic, and not just like throwaway mechanics that suck, but mechanics that genuinely are fun and encourage really, really fun, inquisitive, puzzling, cooperative experiences. So to me, It Takes Two is my game of the year, and it's that game for sure. But I understand that it's not a really wide consensus. And I think personally, it's because not a lot of people have played it. I know you haven't, Matt, and I know when you do, you're gonna you'll agree. I think it'll be up there for sure for you.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'm going to play it in time for Game of the Year conversation because there's so much still left.
Yeah, that's not what I was saying. It's more so the fact that just like...
You'll know I'll love it, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident you will, especially if you bring Layla with you because like it's pretty accessible to people who don't play games as much, although I know she does play games, but...
Yeah,
it's just, like, my girlfriend...
She doesn't grind them.
Yeah, my girlfriend doesn't grind games either. She's not the best. She didn't get the platinum trophy like I did. So if she's listening, I'm gonna get a few angry texts. But
I completely agree with what Ray said. I'm glad you have your knockout punch. For me, I really don't. Like last year, I guess it's kind of a special year because you look at like Persona 5 Royal, and it's like, yeah, like that shit slapped. Like that was one of my favorite games of all time. We talk about how it inspired us to go try to make our own game, and we've actually made some really good fucking progress on it lately. We've seen some really cool stuff with it, so it's been amazing, right? And you know, I think this year I just don't have that energy, and then I looked at previous years. It's like maybe 2020 was just good because you had Doom Eternal, Hades, But then I look at 2019, it's like I had Astral Chain, I had The Outer Worlds. I thought in 2018 we had Red Dead Redemption 2. Like there was a clear hit.
It's a post-COVID year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
We've had great games. There have been games, as I've talked about, that I really liked. Hitman 3, Metroid Dread, as Ray has so eloquently mentioned. Those were some of my favorites this year. But there were games that, like, honestly, I can guarantee in 2 months, if you ask me something about Metroid Story or Hitman 3 stuck with me this whole year. I think Hitman 3 was like it might have been a bigger knockout punch than I'm giving it credit for. But there's certain aspects of these games that I always give a test of love for a game on my memory of it. What's the staying power of that experience? Like Persona 5 Royal, I talk about a lot because I played it once in completion. Yes, technically twice with the base Persona 5, but that has stuck with me over the course of when you talk about Persona 5 coming out in 2017 and Royal coming out in 2020. It's like that experience and that story told has, and how long it is, by the way, has stuck with me for this amount of time, multiple years, where I feel like there have been so many games that I've played that I've just kind of quickly forgotten about and been like, yeah, that was solid. It was a good time, but nothing that's really demanded like space in my brain. That's just how I scale.
Backlog year. Like I've been going through my backlog and just grinding so many games, and even games that weren't in my backlog, but I pulled into it. Like Resident Evil 4, Bayonetta. Those are more recent, but
yeah, it's been a backlog year for sure.
Yeah, and like if I had to pick my favorite game I've played all year, it wouldn't even be It Takes Two, game of the year. But my favorite game I've played all year, I'd have to look at my list. I have like a list.
Mine was probably Final Fantasy 9, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
really?
Yeah,
I like to hear that.
Yeah, like the story really resonated with me. Of course, it comes with the exception of like, yeah, this gameplay is gonna suck, so it's a little bit like an unfair tilt in its advantage. But it just, again, it's about like how great that story and those characters and that music, especially in the world, was. I love Final Fantasy 9. It was definitely the one that resonated with me the most this year, but that's not like game of the year. Although if they remake it, who knows?
Final Fantasy 9 is phenomenal, and anybody who hasn't played it should go and play it. But Matt, you got to play 10. You got to go back into 10.
I do. I got to download it on my Vita, so yeah, we'll get to it. Last question of the show. I feel like we did a really good job this episode. Just want to pat us on the back like I always tend to do.
Yeah. It's only been, what, 2.5 hours, and we're getting to the end of the Patron questions? Like,
yeah.
That's wild.
And we did the call-ins, got roasted, did some super chats even. I mean, it's been great. So thank you all for a fantastic episode. Let's wrap it up strong with Paco Luigi. Hey, yo, had to hop out of the waiting room to go watch Dune. Hope you enjoy that, Paco. So I'll type up the question here instead. First of all, Maddie, can't tell you what a smile I had on my face watching your Retro Rebound Golden Sun video, which feeds into the actual question. So with Golden Sun, I had very strong memories of playing alongside my dad when I was little. Some of my favorite memories of us playing together. What are some games that you associate with particular memories? Much love, Paco. Yeah, Paco, shout out to you, by the way. The reason I did that video was because of you. You had brought up the idea. I looked at the time period. I was like, it's been exactly 20 years. This is like a good, alluring type of video. I like Golden Sun as well. So shout out to you. You provided a reason for me to do that video, and it's done really well, too. So so much so that we're going to keep that format moving forward of like X amount of years later. So thank you to you for just supporting and being vocal about what you want. It actually works, believe it or not. All right. What game reminds us of a particular memory with someone or with something? You got an answer for that?
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 is a game. You know this because I talk about it all the time. I have a lot of nostalgia with that game, but I also do fall under the umbrella that it really hasn't aged poorly, and Matt's a maniac. But besides that, Kingdom Hearts 1 is a game where I can remember, like, I remember playing Deep Jungle in my living room while we had, like, some guy over to fix the cable or something. Like, I just have very fond memories of Kingdom Hearts 1. I remember running to my dad in the kitchen, telling him I got to Wonderland because like, I couldn't get past Traverse Town because, God, that fucking world's weird. Yeah. Or no, it wasn't. Do you go to Deep Jungle? No, you go to Wonderland and then Deep Jungle.
You think I know the order of that one? I gotta be honest, man.
Yeah,
I remember the worlds, but I don't remember the order for that game, especially.
So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1, I just have so many memories attached to. I was like obsessed with that game as a kid. I would have like dreams that Sword, Donald, and Goofy would like take me on an adventure and stuff. Like, it was pretty wild. So I think a lot of people have that too. I know David Portnoy in the chat said he has very similar Kingdom Hearts memories as well. It's it's just one of those games. But there's a few more. I want to mention Fallout 3 because Fallout 3 is a game my grandfather introduced to me. They had this beautiful home in Georgia, and we went up every summer. And this summer we stayed like for a whole month, and I grinded out Fallout 3. And I remember sitting in, like, we call it the bonus room, and it's like a room where there were like 2 beds. It's where we slept. It had like 2 twin beds, sort of like for the kids. And I remember grinding out Fallout 3 and just being amazed with how awesome it was. And then another game I played was Red Dead 1 that's in that same space. But yeah, it's insane how games you can think back and where you were and what you were doing when you were playing.
Yeah, I think it's maybe movies do the same thing and comics do the same thing. I don't know, but I just feel like it's because of like the ability to hand someone something at a particular time, and you don't know what room you're going to be in when you play it, that like gaming and memories just get connected. Where, like, for example, for me, like I don't know if it, like, I can't think of a movie that I remember on a level of nostalgia like that, because you're always in the theater, right? I do think a little bit more fondly back on the first time I saw Joker, because me and my girlfriend went to this like kind of fancy theater that they had recliners. They gave you like heated blankets, and they would bring you like a meal. It was really cool. It was such a cool experience. But I think it was more so that than the movie, which I also love the movie. But yeah, there's just something with games, and it's why I think it's the best storytelling medium.
I 100% agree.
For me, I think Oddworld Munch's Odyssey is the first game that comes to mind. This was a launch original Xbox game, and I love the Oddworld universe, so much so that I was put in Oddworld Soulstorm. You know, that I remember like making a tweet about Soulstorm, and they had contacted me like 6 years ago about me being in the game. So it's crazy that's out now.
6 years ago, wow.
Yeah, right. I thought it wasn't in the game. I remember it used to be a joke in our group. They're like, "Yo, what's up, Oddworld voice actor Matt?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, probably not anymore." But they ended up getting the game out, and that was a really cool experience. But for me, the reason I have so much of a memory of it is because that was a time where I was moving houses. It was the only time I've ever moved, fortunately, and that was kind of like a very intense emotional experience as a kid, because I was, as you'll know, Paul, you've moved way more times than me.
I didn't even know you moved. I thought you were in the same house like your whole life.
No, I've moved once, and the thing is I was mentally convinced that my whole world was falling apart, that I was leaving everything behind. By the way, I was like in 2nd grade. So
were you moving like to a different town, or was it just like
I was just moving to the other side of the same fucking town?
Bro, I've moved like to different fucking states. That's
yeah, I know, right? It's ridiculous to think about. And but I remember I was like really shaken up as a kid, and so whenever we planted down as a family, it was the only time. It's the only game me and my dad. Funny enough that Paco writes in about like, oh, it's a game I remember playing Golden Zone with my dad. My family's really never been into video games. They just really support me. But the one video game that I always played with my dad was Oddworld Munch's Odyssey. And, you know, we would tactically comb through the levels, because you had to like save the scrubs, and you would have to navigate the Sligs, which, by the way, that's one of the characters I voice in Oddworld Soulstorm.
Slig Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah, that was definitely one game that I have a strong memory for, is firing that one up. And I think of the recycling thing. I almost want you to try it out, Paul. I don't know if you'd like it or not. I don't know anyone outside of Soul who would like Oddworld, but I think it's so weird that people would like it.
You know what's so funny? I actually think I've seen Oddworld like once, because my uncle had an old Xbox in his college dorm, and I have this like faint liminal memory of the big screen TV, like, but it's a box TV. Right. And I remember 2 games. I remember the Xbox boot up screen, because I was a PlayStation kid, so to me this was like fucking. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like a controller. The old Duke controller to me is like an alien device. But
it really does look and feel like one.
Yes. But like I remember some like racing game. And then I remember I think I remember Oddworld. I think I do, because it's like a bunch of weird looking creatures. I might have touched it, but not enough to remember anything about it.
It's funny. I always tell this story, so I apologize to the audience if they heard it before, but I got a chance to talk to Lauren Lanning, who created the Oddworld universe. And when I did, I was telling him how much I loved Munch's Odyssey, which is the one that I have a strong memory for. And he was like, yeah, I don't like that game. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, he tells me a story on how they got crunched for it, and it was supposed to be something else, yada, yada, yada. And I understand, because it seemed like something else, but I was like, dude, just so you know, really good game. Really like it. Outside of that, Another game I have a strong attachment to. I'm going to pick a different answer because some of them are obvious if you've listened to my channel, but I'm going to pick one
I have another one as well.
that I learned this week, and that was Halo Combat Evolved. There is like, I felt like I was unpacking my past as I was playing this game because I've replayed Halo 1 a stupid amount of times. The trilogy in general, I replayed a lot as a kid, really 1 and 2. But Halo 1, I love so much, and it's flawed. Don't get me wrong, but every mission I was playing, it was like I was unlocking a memory in my head too at the same time. Like I remember when I was in the library, which is famous for being the worst mission in Halo Combat Evolved. I remember sitting there and recalling a time where my grandma was over and she said, like, what do you want, Matt? And I was like, pizza. She ordered pizza, and it was like just me and her, and we were playing. Like, she didn't play. She watched, though. It was kind of like supporting me, rallying me as I was going through the library, fighting all these flood. And, you know, I love my Mimi to death. So I remember that very, very well. And I had forgotten about it, but playing the game, it had unlocked this memory. I was like, oh, my God. I remember, like, I just passed through a hallway in the classic graphics mode, and it's like, you had one of those moments where it just slapped you in the face and you went, holy.
Like you had an in real life flashback.
Yeah, I really did. I really did. And it was kind of like a special moment I quietly had where I was like, oh, wow, you know, like I remember this. And there's just moments like that peppered all throughout. And then like when I was in Halo, the level called Halo, which I think that's the name of it for level 2. I remember that was Silent Cartographer. That was the level that was on the demo disc. And I remember when I was playing that, it reminded me of all those games I experienced on the demo disc, like Fusion Frenzy, Dead or Alive 3. And it brought me back to when I was first discovering games, and Max Payne was there as well, the first Max Payne game, and I'd replay the level in the subway station a ton. And I just, again, this is all connected to levels in Halo. Like each level was a different, not every single one, but some of them were like instances in my life where I remember things that were happening, things I was doing in that young part of my life. It's just really interesting to see. So that would be my other answer for this one. You said you had another though, like a fourth?
As you kept talking, I just have more and more. So I'm going to mention them really quick.
Sure.
Medal of Honor Airborne is a game my dad and grandfather both loved and grinded, and it's like really off the like, totally random. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. I remember like sitting like all three of us on the couch, and like we hand the controller to when we died. And we play on the hardest difficulty, so we died more or whatever. And that was a ton of fun. And then the other one I was thinking about was Animal Crossing New Leaf. And this is because I met my girlfriend on Animal Crossing New Leaf. And I traveled to Canada to go see her. And I do it like, I guess I would say like annually, sort of. I've been there twice. We've been dating for like 2 years, so it makes sense. I'm going in December again. And I just have really fond memories of that game because like, I was like a little kind of like an anxious guy, you know, and I met this girl and she was really fun and awesome. And we just had so much fun on Animal Crossing, going to like the museum and we would decorate our towns and try to like impress each other. Like, oh, look, my town's better than stuff. And like we would give each other like Animal Crossing gifts. It was really like people would see it as cringy, but it was really, really like sweet.
I don't think it's
sort of.
I think it's good.
Yeah, and it led to us eventually like meeting in person. And I literally got back from a trip, seeing her like a few months ago. I'm going again in December. So yeah, Animal Crossing New Leaf is like really special to me because of that.
Of course.
I think there was one more. Maybe not. I don't know. I was just thinking about a bunch of games. Oh, Halo 3, because you were talking about Halo.
Yeah.
Halo 3, I remember being in my grandparents' house because my grandma's neighbor bought me my Xbox 360. I talked about this.
Right.
And I remember playing that with my cousin's cousin. Like a cousin is as in like a family friend. My cousin's brother. It's so weird. My family stuff
oddly specific.
Yeah, but no, that's another game I have fond memories. There's so many games. Video games are special for that reason.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just I don't know if I could go on because I know I've told a lot of the stories like KOTOR and that moment where like I walked into Circuit City and my dad's like, you can buy a game. There's a bargain bin here. We can spare $10. Like we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I picked that one out, and it ended up being my favorite game of all time, right?
Yeah.
It's funny how much my family brought me into gaming, because what I love about it most is even though they weren't gamers, they knew how happy it made me, and so they let me go crazy with it. And even when it started to build into a career, while they had their gripes at times, like, well, we want you to finish school, yada, 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 they never stopped me. They trusted me to stitch it together. And my parents are always like, you can always hope you did a good job at the end of the day. And I'm like, you guys definitely did. You guys definitely did. I think I'm pretty fucking awesome. So, you were supposed to laugh there, but anyway, now I sound egotistical.
I'm just letting you feel awkward by inflating your ego a little bit. Don't worry.
A subtle flex has gone in reverse on me. Anyway,
it's backfired.
we appreciate everyone who's tuned in for this episode. I can't help but emphasize, I feel like the show just gets better with every episode that we do. For
sure.
And we really settle in here. So thank you to those who supported us, especially with the super chats. That was a new thing we didn't expect. So thank you. Thank you.
Wave of super chats. Was a big fan of that.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you for Volcano for having the balls to challenge me. Certainly didn't expect that.
It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to challenge.
No, it doesn't. You'll notice that I'll listen to you a lot more than I probably should. So no, but for real, thank you, Volcano. That was
not as intimidating as you seem.
No, I'm definitely not.
To be scared of.
No, exactly. That's more so what I was trying to say as a douche. But yeah, I appreciate those who come in, no matter whether they have something nice to say or they want to joke around. We are more than we itch to joke around. So please keep that energy.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what we're looking for.
Like, news is news, but that's like what Old Ham was about, and that's not a bad thing. Like, we got to cover it, but like deviating, bringing people in, having those awesome like fun moments, debating wine glass Coca-Colas. That's what Ham Live is supposed to be about. As far as I know. That's what I think. That's
what I want. I'm sorry. That's what I want, though. I want to have those stupid debates and mess around with the audience, because that's the thing, is that there isn't a third seat because you're the third seat. Whether it's chiming in through chat or submitting a patron question or calling in, we want you involved. And everyone's developing their own thing, right? It's a new thing. So seeing Ray and Paco follow up with us afterwards because they didn't want to sit in the waiting room, like, yes. Like, those are the intangibles that we can't really tell you to do, but you taking that initiative helps out so much. So thank you all immensely for improving this show week by week, and we're looking forward to episode 7 next week. Until then, Paul, any closing thoughts, or shall we wrap this one up?
I have absolutely no closing thoughts. You wrapped it up perfectly, and I just want to thank everybody for showing up.
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next week at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Friday at youtube.com/MrMattyPlays. Until then, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you then.